Our cell phone service has been messed up for days here. I don't know what's going on.
What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away.
The local news just shared a photo of a woman who turned 100 today, I guess. She looks it. Let's just say that. She looks like she turned 100 today. Holy shit. I'm terrified of dying and feeling like I haven't accomplished enough, but I don't know that I would want to live to be 100.
And we feel betrayed.
I'm trying to work up. I've been coming on 30 minutes earlier the last few days. Trying to work up till we get at least to 9 o'clock, maybe 8:30. 8 might be pushing it, but trying to do something better. I don't know how I got in this bad habit of like the 11 p.m. time slot, and that's not good. I need to be here earlier. There's more people that would watch if I was here earlier. Plus, it gets me here earlier, so gets me home earlier because sometimes I don't get home till 3 a.m. So we'll see. I'm trying to do better. So look out for that. I moved it up a full hour now, and we'll see if we can move up further from there. We'll see. Here we go.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
I don't want to move too early, too quickly, because then people will be like, I didn't know you had a show at 8 p.m. You know what I mean? But we'll get there eventually. We're moving slowly. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is a Cold Beer Confessional. This is the photo. I'm not trying to make fun of this lady at all. But she definitely looks like she's 100. Happy birthday to, what's her name? Mabry? Lily Mabry of Daint, Virginia. She looks 100, right? Everybody's telling her happy birthday. 100's a big thing. 100's a big deal, I guess. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. If you want to support the show, do that at coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund. You can do bits or super chats or whatever the platform is. Those are all fine as well. But if you don't do those things, there's links on coldbeer.fund, coldbeer.fund, where you can do any of the, buy me a coffee, join Patreon, Gun and Bomber Animation Dono Clip, where you can record an audio or video clip, or you can just use PayPal. That's this yellow button down here at the bottom, if that's what you're into, because you don't want to buy bits or chips or kicks or whatever the fuck they're selling right now. So thank you guys again for joining us. We'll hop right into it. I just saw this pop up, but I think it'd be interesting to take a look at because apparently they got some footage. It says, raid goes wrong. Trump goons, masked ambush, goes wrong as bystanders are threatened. And then we're going to go into the legal argument for Judge Dugan, I think's her name, the judge that was arrested for aiding and abetting an illegal immigrant, allegedly. We'll check that out. But first, let's start here. And make sure you got audio first so people won't be like, no audio, muted, no audio, muted, no audio, can't hear it, no audio. And then someone else will definitely open up another stream and say, I got you doubled.
JVL here with my colleague at the Bulwark, Andrew Egger, and Andrew ICE is at it again. Where does Abolish ICE go to get its apology? Last week in Charlottesville, Virginia, 3 ICE agents showed up inside a county courthouse to arrest a gentleman, and it was kind of a shit show because these guys were all in plain clothes.
All right, here's something you need to understand. This will be explained later on, okay? When ICE comes to arrest people, there are 2 types of warrants they can have. They can have an actual federal warrant, like an arrest warrant from an Article 3 court, which is like the regular courts that everybody goes to. Or they can have a administrative warrant, which is just like from courts that just ICE courts, immigration courts. Okay, immigration courts fall under immigration courts fall under the president and the executive branch, and then federal courts fall under the judiciary, right? Separate branch. They're Article 3 courts. So with an administrative warrant, when we're talking about like judges and like law enforcement and shit, under an administrative warrant, states, law enforcement, judges, they're not required to help in any way, shape, or form. It's an administrative warrant. It's something that the executive branch carries out by itself, and they're not compelled to help. With an actual judicial, like an Article 3 arrest warrant, then a judge would be like, would be required to help comply and to facilitate this arrest. Now, with that administrative warrants, they can't come, they're not supposed to be able to like bust up into your house without an actual search warrant or go into any private areas. So when the reason they're showing up at courthouses to arrest people is, first of all, it has a chilling effect, right? So imagine they start showing up to courthouses to arrest people that are not here, that are here undocumented, are not going to come to court. And you think, well, fuck them, they're criminals. Some of them are witnesses, right? Some of them can be the victim. They could be the victim of a crime and not showing up to court. They could be the perpetrator of a crime. They're not going to show up to court. They could just be a witness to a crime. They're going to show up to court. And the other thing is they're also arresting people at their scheduled ICE meetings. So let's say you're undocumented here, but you got a work permit for whatever reason, like Abrigo Garcia did. And you go monthly, every 6 months, every 2 months, every year to check in with ICE. And just like if you're going for like parole or probation or anything like that, they ask you if you've had any of these issues. You know, they make sure you don't have a criminal record. How are you doing? Where are you living at? Are you working? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's to keep track of these people, right? Because they're in our country doing whatever they do. If you start arresting those people while they're at these ICE check-ins, then they're just going to quit coming. Why would you come to something when you know that it's likely they're just going to snatch you up and throw you on a plane to Venezuela or wherever? They're going to quit coming to these things. That's not good. We want these people to be following the procedure, but we're incentivizing them to not follow the procedure. Anyways, back to it. The reason they arrest so many at courtrooms, they cannot go into the courtroom. They cannot go into private areas. They arrest them in the public hallways. Now, how would that typically look? Typically, what would happen in the non-Trump administration, okay? There you go, Oz King. Typically, before Trump administration, you would call the chief judge. You would call local law enforcement. You would call a judge and say, hey, we're going to be here on this day. We're going to be looking for so-and-so, and we're going to make an arrest. It's not illegal, but it's kind of faux pas to like just show up without telling local law enforcement, without telling the judge, without telling the magistrate, somebody that you're going to be there. To just be showed up and like hiding a mask and plain clothes and hoping no one notices you. It's kind of weird, but whatever.
They did not have any badges or identification. They did not have a warrant. One of them was wearing a balaclava, like he was from Narcos or something. And as they start manhandling this dude, a bunch of people who were there thinking they're witnessing a crime are like, what's happening? What are you doing?
I told you this would happen. When they had that video of them snatching that woman off the street in mask and shit, and were refusing to identify, all covered up in plain clothes, there were people screaming from their apartment, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? She's getting kidnapped. I told you this would happen.
Stop this. You can't do that. At which point they just say, oh, we're ICE agents. And the people surrounding is like, show us a badge. Show us some identification. And they just flatly refuse. And
they will not. They will not. I don't know if it's new policy or something, or they think they'll be threatened because they're ICE agents doing their job. But what do we do? Right now, you could probably take 5 men and kidnap any brown person in the U.S. you wanted to in broad daylight. And when they say something, tell them that they're interfering with federal law enforcement and they need to step back and just snatch them and throw them in your fucking SUV because they will not show identification to anybody.
They then begin manhandling the people who are trying to protect this dude and threatening them with arrest and saying, if you don't touch me, and you've got to see the video, because there's this gray-haired dude with a man bun and like professor glasses who you think maybe is like a protester or something, but no, he's the ICE agent and he's in full Cartman respect my authority mode.
Respect my authority!
As he tells people, don't touch me, that's a violation of the law. Here, Andrew, let's look at the video.
So this guy with the little ponytail here is one of the ICE agents. But how would you know that?
Not impeding from lawful duties. That's a crime. Do you understand?
It's some guy that looks like a creep, and he's saying, do not impede me in my lawful duty. That's a crime. Do you understand? But anybody could say that. I could say that right now. I could say that. So it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Do not touch me or impede me in my lawful duties, ma'am. Do you understand? It is a crime for you to do so.
Why? Do you have a warrant for his arrest? Do you have a warrant for his arrest?
Yes.
Where is the warrant?
Grab him.
Warrant for his arrest. Signed by a
Get off
judge.
me or I am calling the U.S. attorney and prosecuting you for assault on a federal officer.
There was a
Again, anybody could say that. They're why would they not just show, hey, we're ICE, or have one person there that's like high up or something that's wearing like the jacket and has a badge and says, okay, yeah, those are 5 guys are my guys. Here's the paperwork. Here's my badge. They're doing the work or something. This is just crazy. Anybody could say this.
Show us a warrant signed by a judge.
Turn him around.
You don't have a warrant.
Sir.
Show us a warrant for his arrest.
We are officers of Homeland Security, sir.
You don't have a warrant signed by a
So that's the face of law enforcement. And what brings us here today is news that ICE has said that they are going to press charges against the bystanders in this video who thought that they were stopping the commission of a crime. What are your thoughts, Andrew? You're a law and order guy.
I feel like you only
I mean, that's crazy, right? Now, obviously, we know now that they are federal agents. But how the fuck would we know that in the time? How do we know that? Or we just never, like, if we see somebody just fucking dragging somebody down the street, we're supposed to be like, he's probably a cop. I don't know. He's in plain clothes. He's wearing a mask. He's got his head covered. What the fuck? How?
only bring me on here to like throw things in my face. It's like, hey, explain this one. This is not my idea of a good.
I guarantee you, if you say something like they need to identify, they will say something like the radical left protesters will dox them and show up at their house and kill all their orphans or something. So they're not going to. That's their excuse.
I'm JVL is plainclothes guys yanking people off the street. Let me give a partial, I guess, steel man of the kind of thing that is sort of going on here, right? Is that federal immigration enforcement has forever had a bee in its bonnet about the lower level criminal justice systems not playing more ball with them in a number of jurisdictions, right? They're like, hey, you got a guy in there who's showed up to be arraigned for a crime or to have a hearing or whatever.
That's another thing we're going to hear about in the Judge Dugan case. That state that she's from, is it Wisconsin? Anyways, the state she's from is known to not work with federal law enforcement, right? Trump would call them a sanctuary state or sanctuary city or whatever. They're known to not work with law enforcement. So it's almost like they're penalizing those people and doing more outrageous shit there.
We really want to deport out of our country. Would you mind handing him to me, please? And the lower courts frequently will say, no, we're dealing with him according to...
By the way, the Judge Dugan case, we're going to see it in a minute, is really being lied about, of course. Who could have guessed? It's misinformation around the case. She let that guy out and his attorney out a back door. That is true. Okay? That is true. That back door did not lead outside. That back door did not lead to freedom. It literally went to a private hallway, a short private hallway that went right back out, right beside the main doors. It put him right back into the public hallway. In fact, he was never, the narrative is like, oh, he almost got away from us. He was never away from us. As soon as he come out in the public hallway, one of the agents, who no one knew as an agent, who didn't identify himself, saw him and got on the elevator with him and let other agents know where he was at.
Whatever charges he's facing in our jurisdiction, we're going to mete out justice that way. It would be bad for our system. People would stop showing up for their hearings if you were also just able to show up for their hearings. And
again, this would be bad for our system. How often would you go to court if you knew that every time you showed up to court that someone was going to try to fight you and strangle you to death? You wouldn't, right?
and then throw him out of the country? So you can see there's like competing interests here, right? And ICE is trying to step that stuff up. They're trying to put a lot of pressure on these people they're trying to put a lot of pressure on these local systems, including last week by arresting a county judge in order to get them to be more compliant. So that's kind of I call it a steel man. As it's coming out of my mouth, it's horrifying, right? I mean, it's what they're doing right now is basically trying to twist these state and local systems' arms behind their backs, these lower level courts behind their backs, to get.
I wasn't paying attention. That's funny.
More with federal immigration authorities on this stuff. But what we have seen in this video goes significantly beyond that, because the combination of that and this other cool new thing that ICE is doing, which is these plainclothes raids, where not only are ICE agents undercover doing investigation and stuff, but they are from the beginning to end of the detainment process refusing.
Like once they've identified the guy and they're ready to move in, and the person isn't threatened or running, when the guys start like running up to him, here's the one with the woman I was talking about. When the guys start running up to him, like when they're right here, at least somebody could step out of this car with an ice jacket on and a badge he can hold up or something. Wouldn't that help? Something? Like, I understand not wanting to show them that you're ice before you make contact, like initial contact, because they could jet and run or whatever, or not come outside. But now that you're within arm's reach of them, the first guy puts a hand on the person, then somebody jumps out of an SUV or a hallway or somewhere close by with a like an official uniform and a badge.
To give any identification, show any identification. We saw this back with student visas getting canceled, people getting pulled off the streets.
Arrest on the street at Tufts, right?
Yeah, and it's brazenly kind of cuts against everything that you would ever expect from law enforcement in a free society, where there's accountability of who's yanking you off the street, who's putting you in a van, where you can have some confidence that the people doing the yanking, if they are
Imagine this right here was happening to any other group of people, and they would be screaming from the rooftops. Like, we have secret police jumping out of places and snatching people off the street. What the fuck is this? Nope.
Plainclothes are actually committing a crime, and that traditionally, if you or I were walking down the street and we saw something like that happening, just a scuffle between a couple of people all in street clothes, group of guys throwing another guy in the van. First of all, we hope we wouldn't see that at all in the United States of America. Second of all, if you did, you'd be like, something shitty is going on here. Should I intervene? Yeah, call the police. Yeah, like get the cops in here. And there's nothing preventing them from doing that as a matter of policy. There's nothing. I mean, they're there to arrest the guy, right? They know he's going to be there. They're already putting on all this kind of institutional pressure. There would be no reason for them not to show the badges and stuff, unless
just wear the badge and have the warrant in your hand.
Yeah. Unless part of this, well, there's really two possibilities, right? One of the things they get into this in the story a little bit. One of this is that ICE is just deputizing people left and right to help them with these operations. A lot of these people are like total rookies.
By the way, the new budget submit. We can watch that video. Hold on. Where did I see that video? Who sent me that video? Hold on. The new budget proposal has like $800 million in bonuses for ICE agents, which if you break that down, here it is. It was Jennifer. Put it in there. If you break that down, that's $42,000 per ICE employee. Listen to this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. Judiciary After Dark. So 100 days.
This is actually really funny, too.
Mr. Chairman, the golden age. Some are saying, many perhaps, that even William Henry Harrison had a better 100 days. But I want to talk about the economy, because that will explain my amendments. Goldman Sachs is now saying the United States will have the lowest economic growth and the highest inflation of any developed country, all related to tariffs. The Dow's down 3,000 points. Consumer sentiment has fallen 32% since Trump took office, the largest decline since the 90s. And then, there's this. Trump in January 29, 2024, after inauguration, says this is the
January 29, 2024. This is the Trump stock market.
Trump stock market. It's his stock market. And then on April 30th, something happened, and he says, this is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. So anyway.
April 30th, Biden stock market.
And then today, what he said.
Even Alex Jones is worried Trump is going to round up Americans.
It was even more interesting. He said, and even the next quarter, that will sort of be Biden's also. Kind of telling us that it's going to get worse. So, Mr. Chairman, listen, in the spirit of Doge, I present to you 4 amendments that have over $900 million, some people would say that's $1 billion, okay, of savings to the American people. I decided to Doge your budget. Even though the Doge caucus in Congress is dead, it met twice. I know, I was there. It did nothing. It was never included. Instead, what we got was
Elon Musk still refuses to appear. Well, the Republicans in Congress won't even call him to appear.
Executive branch Doge program that fell 80% less lower than their goal. They left the E out in Doge, and they didn't do anything that was efficient. They've not helped government become more efficient, just the dog part. And so what I did, Mr. Chairman, is I used the exact same metric that Elon Musk used. I just made it up. So let's just go with page 70, okay? On page 70, you want to put $700 million into the IT budget. I propose we make that $600 million. Save the American people $100 million. $600 million for computers, Mr. Chairman, sounds like a lot of money. My next amendment in there is on page 75. You guys want to spend $1.3 billion to hire lawyers. You guys starting a law firm? I mean, didn't Trump get like billions of dollars of like pro bono work out of all of the law firms? So what I propose, Mr. Chairman, is instead of $1.3 billion, we just spend $1 billion. How about $1 billion on lawyers? That sounds like a lot of money, $1 billion on lawyers. New cars. Homeland needs new cars, so you guys want to spend $250 million on new cars. I propose $125 million. Feel like they could probably get away with $125 million.
$125 million and make them buddy up, right? Instead of all those people that would have gotten a new car, make them ride in the passenger seat, half of them.
In new cars, not 250. I know cars are more expensive because of the tariffs, but at the end of the day, I feel like 125 million is a lot of money. And then this one's my favorite. I don't know if you know this, but you guys have $858 million, again, almost $1 billion, okay, of money to give out bonuses.
$858 million in bonuses for ICE. If you took every employee in ICE and split that evenly, that would be $42,000 per employee in bonuses.
To people. And so listen, bonuses are great when people do good work, but $858 million sounds like a lot of money. That's like a $40,000 bonus to every employee in all of ICE. So how about $500 million? How about $500 million for bonuses? Okay, we can do this together. We can show the American people there's like a little bit of waste here, a little bit of waste. So I can help you capture, Mr. Chairman, $903 million. We can save $1 billion together. Show the American people we're serious.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Of course I will.
You raise a profoundly serious point in your inimitable way.
By the way, Moskowitz is like the king of snark now.
Moskowitz. Well, the bonuses, that is a huge bonus budget.
Yeah.
What does that work out? Have you done the math to see what that works out in terms of bonus per ICE employee?
$42,000 for every employee in a bonus.
$42,000 outside of your, imagine making a fucking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 salary, and you got $42,000 you could have in bonuses per employee, every employee.
Bonus in addition to their salary.
A $42,000 bonus?
Yeah, $42,000. And because you and I sometimes are symbiotic, you're probably going to ask me, what is the average bonus for the American worker in this country?
Do you know what that is?
It's $2,500.
That's the average Christmas bonus is $2,500.
The average Christmas bonus, because Christmas is back, the average Christmas bonus is $2,500, but they want to give $42,000. And what I would suggest in my amendment is instead of $42,000, they get
The average ICE salary is probably like 50, 60, 55, I would say.
$5,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
Well, it seems to me you've probably hit upon the one thing we really could effectuate a compromise on, although I don't know that we're going to be able to talk to them about it, but maybe they'll just vote for it.
I mean, listen, if no one there wants to talk, bring in Comer. He'll definitely talk to me.
I mean, he's making a joke out of it, but what the fuck do you do? They don't have any power. Of course, the Republicans are going to pass this. What are these bonuses for? Like, I know they listed some of them like relocation bonuses and shit, but it was nowhere near this amount. It was like up to $20,000 or 25% of above that or some shit. Like, no, it was, hold on. Let me Google it again. It wasn't even that much. Relocation bonuses up to $15,000 or 1/4 of your basic pay, paid in a lump sum or installments. That's for relocation. This is almost 100% of their base pay. Where the fuck is that going? you're way off. ICE agent base salary. Entry-level agents earn between $48,000 and $77,000. Top earners can reach $75,000 annually. Average is $56,909. Average hourly wage is $27 per hour. GS7, GS8. From the bottom of GS7 is 33. The top of GS8 is 48. GS5, 27 to 35, GS6, 30 to 39, GS7, 33 to 44, GS8, 37 to 48, GS9, 41 to 54. Special agents are usually offered GL7, GL9. Anyways, back to this. I don't know, it's just crazy. What is that bonus money going to?
Amateurs off the street who just like are not familiar with the way this is typically done in federal law enforcement, or has been typically done in federal law enforcement.
Perhaps.
Yeah, sure. So that introduces all kinds of instability and uncertainty and opportunities for chaos, which again, ICE is maximally putting its foot down on. If you're there and you're like, what the heck's going on? There's a good chance you may end up getting arrested too for interfering. But the other thing is that all this you have to imagine that all this is a deliberate policy choice, right? That the goal is to ratchet up the bleariness and the uncertainty around who's doing what. You don't want clear lines of authority if you are Donald Trump, right? You want to be able to mobilize the brown shirt army in plain clothes because you want people just in fear. You don't want people to like know where they stand going into encounters with these law enforcement officers. You want people to have a reflexive flinching away from really any interactions with people who are identifying themselves as federal law enforcement because they're adopting this maximalist posture of we're going to get you no matter what.
What do you think the balaclava is all about? So this is a thing we're seeing often now with some of these high-profile ICE raids where not only are they plain clothes, but like agents covering their faces. Now, maybe in like, I don't know, like where's the worst drug? You know, from what I know from watching Clear and Present Danger, the drug cartels can target legitimate law enforcement officers, and so from time to time, in like the harshest jungles of Central and South America, the police have to wear balaclavas like Batman to protect their friends and family. I don't think that's the case in America.
Yeah, it's not super clear to me that is a top consideration when you're yanking like a Tufts University student off the street, that like they might have high-level gang contacts who are going to retaliate. I think it's a lot more prosaic. I think these people know that there are smartphones around, and they don't want to be like personally identified and seen as like individually responsible for what they would prefer to see as just sort of the anonymous arm of the state coming down on these people, which again is completely contrary to the whole point of badges and ID numbers, and like the idea that even though like the courts are totally stacked in the favor of any law enforcement officer who's ever charged with anything or accused of anything, even though the whole system is already set up to really privilege and prioritize those agents of authority in that way, at least you are able to know who you're talking about. At least maybe social stigma can play a role here, and as we have seen in an increasing number of cases like this, ICE and other federal law enforcement who are part of this mass deportation operation are trying to kind of short circuit and do away with that.
I mean, whenever I write something, my name is on it. So I am accountable for the words I write. I would think that if you are a law enforcement officer and you are carrying out your job as an agent of the state, if you are not happy to have your name and face attached to the actions you're carrying out, maybe you shouldn't be doing them.
Yeah. I mean, this is
maybe you should find a new job, right? I mean, this is right. If you think that you could get in trouble for doing what you're doing, then you shouldn't do it. And this is why like people like you and I write with our names attached to it and not anonymously.
Yeah, and it all ties into the argument that the Trump administration is making kind of consistently and across.
You're going to have more run-ins like this.
The board that fundamentally these deportation proceedings, we should all compartmentalize them in our brains, set them aside, get rid of whatever gag reflex we might have about getting rid of due process for these people, short-circuiting any kinds of transparency and constitutional protections around the nature and manner of their arrests. Basically, if the Trump administration points at a person and says illegal alien, criminal, gangbanger, terrorist, MS-13, non-person, you should just take like an ice cream scoop and get rid of the part of your brain that has any of those concerns as far as those people are concerned. But the problem is that even if that were fair or like defensible from the point of view of the person being deported, which is not, it is plainly all the time continually implicating all kinds of people who are around the situations. I mean, this is exactly what we saw with this headline, right? I mean, you have these people there who are putting
That's crazy.
between this plainclothes DHS officer and this guy who they're trying to detain, who obviously everybody should agree they should be able to identify whether the person who is in front of them is an actual officer of the law, in which case they should probably get out of the way, or that they're not. And if
and that's what they're asking. Here's the video. They're just saying, show us a badge, show us a warrant.
Yeah.
And so here so this is one of the persistent themes of Trumpism is to claim to be acting on behalf of one group while treating that group like shit. And so, we're here for the forgotten men and women, and we're going to impose tariffs on everything to make their jobs, make their trucking.
I think 120,000 would be like GS15, maybe.
jobs disappear and make the cost of goods go up. Yesterday, they put out one of their new executive orders, the text of which is like, our brave men and women in law enforcement, and we have to protect them. Doing things like this is incredibly dangerous to the brave men and women of law enforcement, right? This is trying to put them into a maximally dangerous position where their identities are ambiguous. And in a country with 300, 400 million guns in it, we're going to put them in positions where it could look to any bystander as though they were themselves criminals. It is needlessly dangerous. And here's
GS-15 is 123,000.
my maybe conspiracy theory. You tell me if I'm crazy. Yes, I agree that doing plainclothes raids with balaclavas and all that is partly to be done to create a climate of fear. I think another part of it is they're looking to get a tragedy and a provocation that they can use to justify ratcheting up to whatever the next level is. They're waiting to do a raid where some innocent bystander who is got a concealed carry permit and in a state with stand their ground laws, opens fire on law enforcement officers because they aren't.
But then they can say, look how dangerous it is. This way I have to get rid of people. I can't. And they can fucking throw that guy under the bus. Whoever pulls the firearm or fires or whatever, they can throw that guy under the bus and put a chilling effect on that.
Clearly identified and thinks that they're stopping a crime, at which point you have tragedy. I'm kind of shocked that something.
Yeah, I'll show the video again. Hold on.
Happened yet, and it's great, but it hasn't happened yet. Fingers crossed. I hope it doesn't happen. But you do enough of these things. I don't know. We had somebody in the comment section the other day who was like, my wife is not a citizen. She's illegal.
There is a separate pay scale for law enforcement. It's called GL pay scales. But I think that it only goes to 10. Once you get past, once you go to 11, you switch back over to the GS scale, the general schedule.
President. But if, he's like, I got a concealed carry permit. If we're walking down the street and 3 guys in masks jump out of the van and grab her, and they don't have badges and they don't have warrant, am I supposed to just let that happen, or am I supposed to stand my ground? What? And this is just asking for trouble. It's needlessly asking for trouble. It's putting law enforcement officers in harm's way when they don't have to be. It's a choice to make it as dangerous as possible for them. I think maybe in the hopes that we wind up with some horrible situation that they
or just scare the fuck out of people
can then use to justify going to the next level.
These people are scared to go anywhere, to do anything,
whatever that is. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think it's not an implausible reading of this stuff by any stretch, because obviously that's one real danger here. I guess one kind of caveat that I would add to that is we still don't really have a great sense of how widely spread this practice is. Most of the individual instances that we're seeing kind of bubble up, which they're all controversial when they come out. So I feel like we have a pretty good sense of when and how widely it's happening, or maybe that's Pollyanna-ish. But it's a Tufts University student. It's like a young woman kind of alone on a street in, I don't know what state Tufts in. I should know that.
It's Boston. She was in Somerville.
Yeah, in Boston, Massachusetts. Or it's it's this guy who they're detaining coming out of a courtroom, like in the middle of a courthouse, right? These are not yet, I would say, kind of like the maximal playing with fire type arrests that you might see if something similar were playing out like in a busy street in Florida or Texas or something like that, right? But the danger is obviously there. The danger is.
I saw a news story today that this group of people have come up with another way to identify early identification of cancer using some type of microscopic pictures of cells or some shit. But the problem is the people who wrote the code to interpret this, to run these scans and interpret whether there's a precursor for cancer or whatever, is they've been locked up for months inside an ICE facility. So
it's constantly there, and the point, and again, there's no genuine benefit. There's no actual state interest that is preserved, or genuine state interest. There's a governmental interest. There's a regime interest in doing all this for the reasons we've discussed. But there's no genuine state interest in this happening that would outweigh, that would justify the increased risk of all those things that you describe, even though we have not yet seen kind of like a maximally risky situation or God forbid, an actual tragedy. So who knows? Who knows where all this goes?
Can I ask you a question, Andrew? Why aren't the cops involved in these raids pushing back on their superiors and saying, no, I'm going to wear my badge because this is dangerous. You're trying to put me in danger. Again, we don't know who's telling, whether is this orders, are they deciding on their own not to wear badges? But you would think, again, our brave men and women in law enforcement would be well within their rights to push back against their superiors if they are being instructed not to display badges and say, no, I'm in the middle of a courthouse. I can fucking just have the badge hanging around my neck. That's not going to impede my ability to do my job. And if there is a superior telling them not to wear a badge, I'm going to go to the press and tell them they're trying to put us in harm's way. They're trying to put us in danger. I haven't seen any of that from law enforcement officers on the front lines. Have you, Andrew?
Yeah, well, I think some of this again comes back to the
they would rather have this rhetoric that the people that they're detaining are so dangerous that if they just see a badge, they'll go to killing people
idea that people are kind of like being deputized for a lot of this work. Like these are true believers who are kind of signing up to do it, right? And again, we don't necessarily know that these guys in this video are among those people, as kind of suggested by a couple of people who are close to the encounter. But that's a concern, right? That's a like basically, if you have just kind of like real gung ho, like pro deportation, we're going to make it happen, guys stepping up to do the work. Not only are they going to have fewer concerns along the lines you mentioned, because they're just kind of like cost of doing business, baby. But also, you have to kind of wildly inflate the risk of just kind of regular sorts of police affiliated violence with people who have not been trained as much, people who are newer to the job, and people who are ideologically motivated by the specific kind of people that they're arresting, not just like cleaning up, not just like preserving law and order, but like getting those kind of people out of the country, right? So that's that's just me hazarding a guess, but that's kind of where I'd go with that.
All right, well, before we get out of here, Andrew, so you're in favor of abolishing ICE now, right?
Here's the video again of what happened at a courthouse.
The law here, Andrew. Let's look at the video.
So it's this guy right here with glasses and ponytail. This older guy in this red shirt is saying, "Do not impede with me," blah blah blah, whatever.
That's a crime. Do you understand? Do not touch me or impede me in my lawful duties, ma'am. Do you understand? It is a crime for
And this guy with his full mask on.
you to do so.
Why? Do you have a warrant for his arrest? Do you have a warrant for his arrest?
Yes.
Where is the warrant?
grab
Where's
him.
the warrant for his arrest? Warrant signed by a
Get
judge.
off me, or I am calling the U.S. attorney and prosecuting you for assault on a
That's what we were talking about. Anybody could be saying these things. Like, you can't impede me. I'm a federal officer. I'll call the U.S. attorney on you. You'll be prosecuted.
federal officer.
Show us the warrant
Back
for his
up.
arrest. Show us a warrant signed by a judge.
Turn him
You
around.
don't have a warrant.
Sir.
Show us a warrant for his arrest.
We are officers with Homeland Security.
You don't have a warrant signed by a
So that's the face of law enforcement.
That's the video. And the reason they're covering this story again, even though the video came out a while back, is because those two people that were kind of running interference here, they want to prosecute them. They want to bring charges against them. And then if we go over here, let's talk again about the case against Judge Dugan. So Legal Eagle has all the documents and goes over it. So the FBI just arrested 2 judges. Now, he thinks the New Mexico one will probably stick for the destruction of evidence, which I do too. The guy admitted to like destroying
until they started
destroying a phone with a hammer. Like, he doesn't have a whole lot of grounds to do much, right? He told them, I destroyed the phone with a hammer because it had incriminating photos or photos that would look badly on the guy, which was silly. You can't destroy evidence no matter who you are. And they have the judge's wife on a FaceTime call or a video chat from jail with the guy saying, I'll delete your Facebook page, shit like that. So they're probably going to get something in as well as charges. But the other judge that just let the guy leave through the back door, it doesn't seem like they got a case at all. But here we go.
Look, everyone calm down. It won't be time to panic until they start arresting the judges. Uh-huh.
The gang starts arresting judges.
They started arresting the judges. The Trump administration has been pretty open about its war on the judiciary, but last week it took a huge, almost unprecedented step forward in an intimidation campaign against judges.
Who gets to make the call? Is it the guy whose name was on the ballot, or is it some bureaucrat? Is it the guy who got 77 million votes, or some district judge?
Federal officers charged 2 judges, Judge Hannah Dugan of Wisconsin and Judge Jose Joel Cano of New Mexico, with crimes related to obstructing federal immigration proceedings. Now, these arrests were staggering, but what's even more gobsmacking is that in ordinary times, an ordinary presidential...
I know people from like there where I live, that's like their wet dream, right? Somebody comes up and starts manhandling this person, blah, 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 and I got the drop on them because I'm behind the door and I've got my pistol on my hip, but they won't do it for any brown people. If they see a brown person that's being hassled by the police, they're like, probably deserves it.
Administration probably would have kept quiet and allowed these cases to play out in the criminal justice system. But we don't have an ordinary precedent and we don't live in ordinary times. Instead of letting these cases work their way through the courts and allowing a jury to make an unprejudiced finding, the Trump administration just skipped ahead to the guilty finding and politically motivated gloating. Kash Patel rushed to Twitter to publicize the arrest, despite the fact that...
Hold on, let's go back to that. No one is above the law, and it says FBI director violates 1 through 7 of .610, which prohibits posting pictures of defendants that might prejudice a legal proceeding. Kash Patel posted this photo. It is illegal for him to post this photo. He deleted it.
The arrest, despite the fact that DOJ guidelines on handling the media prohibit the spectacle of the judge being perp-walked. And that's probably one of several reasons why Patel deleted his tweet. Assistant DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin proclaimed that the Trump administration was going to continue to go after these activist judges.
We've seen these activist judges trying to subvert the will of the American people. This is just beyond the pale. We are going to continue to go after these activist judges.
Attorney General Pam Bondi said that these judges are deranged and that the
I think we forget how good it was for 4 years, where even when there was something like this that happened, like an arrest of like a high profile person or something, the administration would just come out and be like, hey, we think we did our job, but we'll let, the courts decide. That's what they do. Rather than these deranged activist lunatic judges are out here. They're terrorists, basically. They're like crazy shit for the administration.
Administration will find them.
They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe, I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not. And we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you.
And President Trump said the quiet part out loud.
We have hundreds of thousands of people that we want to get out of the country. And the courts are holding us back.
And despite the administration's confident assertions of Judges Dugan and Cano's guilt, it's worth noting that the only facts we have available to us right now are from the government's charges against the defendants and the news media reports on their arrests. None of this has been adjudicated by a judge or a jury. There hasn't yet been a trial or finding of guilt. And as we've highlighted a lot in recent videos, the process of fact-finding and adjudication is important. And of course, anyone who's ever watched an episode of Law & Order knows that at the start of a criminal case, the government often makes a lot of accusations. Those accusations are laid out in a criminal complaint, but during trial, the accusations have to be backed up by actual evidence and witness testimony. The government then has to show that it has met all the legal requirements, the elements of the criminal statute, in order to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and then a jury has to make a guilty finding. That's how we learn what's true and what's an unfounded accusation. That's why due process is essential. For now, though, these cases are in early stages, so the details we're discussing here haven't actually been proven. They're just accusations. But even based on the government's own accusations, these cases are unbelievably thin and possibly exonerative. And frankly, because of the implication and the chilling effect on the judiciary, it's crazy that these cases were ever brought in the first place. Now, Judge Hannah Dugan has served as a circuit court judge in the Wisconsin State Court for
this is the interesting one.
County since 2016. On April 18, 2025, she was set to hold a hearing for Eduardo Flores Ruiz. Flores Ruiz is an undocumented immigrant from Mexico who had received an order of removal in 2013 and had subsequently been removed to Mexico. Sometime between 2013 and 2025, he had returned to the United States without permission. He was scheduled for a hearing before Judge Dugan because on March 18, 2025, he was charged with several counts of battery in Milwaukee County Circuit Court. The battery charges stemmed from an alleged physical fight with his roommate over Flores Ruiz playing loud music in his home. And according to the criminal complaint, Flores Ruiz had also struck a woman who tried to intervene in the fight, which resulted in a domestic violence charge. On the day of his April 18th hearing, 6 agents, an ICE officer, a CBP officer, 2 FBI special agents, and 2 DEA special agents were at the courthouse to arrest him under their immigration authorities. They'd apparently seen his name on the court's docket, so they believed it would be easy to apprehend him when he showed up for the hearing. When the plainclothes officers arrived at the courthouse, they identified themselves to the shift sergeant and discussed their plans to arrest Flores Ruiz. They were told that they had to wait until after Flores Ruiz's hearing, so they assembled in the hallway outside of Judge Dugan's courtroom.
Again, they can't go in the courtroom or in private areas.
According to the government's filings, one of the local public defenders recognized the officers and informed Judge Dugan's clerk about their presence in the hallway. The clerk then reported this to the judge, who declared that she was going to call the chief judge and left the courtroom. Judge Dugan, along with another unnamed judge, angrily confronted the officers in the hallway. Now, Judge Dugan hasn't spoken publicly about her motivations, but she had good reasons to be angry about ICE's presence in the courthouse. By arresting immigrants who are complying with lawful orders to appear in court, the administration is actively disincentivizing people, including not just immigrant defendants, but also immigrant witnesses, from showing up in court. So conducting regular sting operations when people show up for court makes it much harder for judges like Judge Dugan to do their jobs. And ICE's presence in the courthouse was not an accident. News reports indicate that ICE has arrested 2 other people at the same courthouse in the past 2 months. In the government's filings, FBI agent Lindsay Schlomer states outright that law enforcement routinely executes warrants and makes arrests in public areas of buildings like the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Special Agent Schlomer admits that the agency does this because the public court dates allow law enforcement to know where and when they can find the immigrant they want.
So they're checking their master list or whatever against people that will be appearing in court
to detain. And immigration officials have been doing similar things when immigrants show up dutifully for their immigration check-in appointments. Last week, 2 mothers and their young children were picked up at...
I heard Mike Waltz left the group chat finally. He's been removed from the group chat.
The regular immigration check-ins, then quickly deported to Honduras. And you can see the problems here. If people start reasonably fearing that they will be picked up by ICE when they show up for court dates or immigration check-ins, they will stop showing up for those appointments. So here, it looks like Judge Dugan attempted to protect the integrity of her courtroom by asking the law enforcement officials...
By the way, that one little baby that was deported with the mother, They were trying to use the father trying to find his kid so he could leave it with his sister, who was a U.S. citizen, because the baby's a U.S. citizen. They were trying to use the kid as bait to get that guy to arrest him, saying, "Oh, I can't help you. I can't find him. It doesn't say she's in the system, but you can come down here and we'll get." And they just wanted to arrest him, right?
If they had a warrant, and when they informed her that they had an administrative immigration warrant, which we'll talk about in a second, she told them that they needed a judicial warrant. It's important to understand the distinction between the two types of warrants. A judicial warrant is authorized by a judicial court. It can be either a state or federal court, but it has to be signed off by an actual judge. Judicial warrants can authorize a seizure, arrest, or a search. A judicial warrant can permit law enforcement.
A judicial warrant and an administrative warrant are different, okay?
They will stop showing up for those appointments. So here, it looks like Judge Dugan attempted to protect the integrity of her courtroom by asking the law enforcement officials if they had a warrant, and when they informed her that they had an administrative immigration warrant, which we'll talk about in a second, she told them that they needed a judicial warrant. It's important to understand the distinction between the two types of warrants. A judicial warrant is authorized by a judicial court.
It's issued by a judicial court, federal court, a magistrate, state court, judge, or magistrate. Compliance required. Yes. Always, if it's a valid judicial warrant. Okay? An administrative warrant is agencies such as DHS, USCIS, ICE, or CBP, immigration judge, or immigration court. It depends. An administrative warrant does not authorize a search, but in some circumstances, it may authorize a civil arrest or seizure. Again, these people have committed civil infractions for being here.
It can be either a state or federal court, but it has to be signed off by an actual judge. Judicial warrants can authorize a seizure, arrest, or a search. A judicial warrant can permit law enforcement officers to enter a private space like an office or a home.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of Southern, especially Southern, conservative cops will start massively helping with immigration. Because they support the Trump agenda, they support the rhetoric surrounding it, and they know, everybody knows, you do good things for Trump, you get good things, right? They want to be recognized, they want praise, they want equipment, they want money, they want finance, all that shit, right? I don't think they think long-term enough to think about how much this hurts them, though. So, like, I live in an area with a lot of farms, okay? And crime happens here or whatever. This hurts our workforce, this hurts our crime, this hurts our farms, this hurts our economy. Not to mention, when crime does take place, it hurts trying to get witnesses, trying to get people that'll testify, trying to get people that'll help you solve a crime. It destroys the connection you have with those communities. It's just done, over with. And there have been cops that have stood up against that. There have been sheriffs that are literally going out to fields where they know undocumented workers are and saying, look, you can come to us. We're not here to snatch you up and send you back. Or we're here to protect our local people. That's, if the federal agents come, we can't stop them. But you don't ever have to be afraid to come to us. It also creates an environment that's good for like human trafficking, right? No one's going to run and tell the police because the next thing you know, you're on a plane to fucking El Salvador. Or other crimes, drug smuggling, whatever it might be.
And in order to obtain a judicial warrant, law enforcement must demonstrate to the judge that there is probable cause, that is,
probable cause,
a reasonable basis for believing that a crime may have been committed or that evidence of a crime is present in the place to be searched. An administrative warrant, on the other hand, in an immigration context, is issued by an immigration judge or an immigration officer, who are members of the executive branch and are not Article 3 judges. It cannot authorize a search, only an arrest or a seizure. An administrative warrant does not permit officers to enter a private space, so the arrest or seizure must be conducted in a public space. And
they cannot enter a private space. That's why they're doing it on the street. That's why they're doing it in the hallways. That's why they're doing it in courtrooms. They can't, or like we heard that story of the ICE agents knocking on that girl's apartment and she refused to answer, and they left for a while and she snuck out and flew back to Canada or wherever she was from. And then they come back and just knocked on the door for a couple hours again because they can't come into the home.
It's controversial, but ICE agents...
That there are people standing on streets when ICE show up saying, do not open your door. They can't come in without a judicial warrant. Do not open your door. Because once you come outside into a public space, or even if they threaten you, they'll say things like, if you don't come out, I'm coming in. You don't want that in front of your family. So people will come out and then they can arrest them out in public.
Do not need to meet the probable cause requirement in order to obtain an administrative warrant. And in Judge Dugan's case,
you don't need probable cause to get the administrative warrant.
The law enforcement officers did not have a judicial warrant. After they confirmed this and offered to show their administrative warrant, Judge Dugan instructed them to speak with the chief judge. And 5 of the law enforcement officers were escorted to the reception area for the chief judge's office. One of the DEA special agents, who had not been recognized, remained outside in the hallway. Now, inside the chief judge's office, the ICE officers showed the unnamed judge their administrative warrant and credentials. The chief judge's clerk got the chief judge on the phone, and the chief judge advised the ICE agent that ICE enforcement actions could not take place in courtrooms or...
Instead of probable cause, they need something called... They need to be based on reasonable statutory standards for conducting an inspection. It's a lower level of evidence that they need.
Other private locations within the building, but could take place in hallways because those are considered public spaces. Now, according to the government's complaint against Judge Dugan, while the law enforcement officers were in the chief judge's office, Judge Dugan expedited Flores-Ruiz's proceedings, then directed Flores-Ruiz and his attorney to go out the back jury door instead of the door that led to the main hallway where the law enforcement agents had been waiting. The courtroom deputy has claimed that usually only deputies, jury...
Now, this might be a big deal. This might be a big deal if she told him to go out there because she knew that led to like a secret room or a secret exit or something. But you'll watch, it doesn't. It leads back to the same exact spot.
Court staff and escorted in-custody defendants are permitted to use the back door. This back door, though, only led to the public hallway, where 2 of the agents were still waiting. So if this had been some kind of attempt to subvert the arrest, it wasn't a very good one. One of the agents in the hallway recognized Flores-Ruiz, got in the elevator with Flores-Ruiz and his attorney, and alerted the rest of the agents. The agents caught up with Flores-Ruiz in the front of the courthouse. And when the agents identified themselves, Flores-Ruiz tried to flee, and the agents intercepted...
So he did try to flee, which is important for this case, because he tried to flee outside once he was outside, way outside any interaction with the judge.
And before he'd even crossed the street. Even Andrew McCarthy, a former federal prosecutor and conservative legal commentator, was critical of the way that federal agents handled things. Now, he first explained that he felt that the situation was due in large part to Milwaukee's status as a sanctuary city.
As a Trump DOJ, what did that say? As a Trump DOJ should know, Judge Dugan has a defense. This won't stick. Okay, instead, this is a chilling effect where they want to smear your name. They want you all over the news. They don't want any other judge to ever do this again because of bad press.
Meaning that generally the city would not voluntarily help out the federal government in immigration-related events, which under rules of federalism, the state cannot be compelled to do or to be commandeered by the federal government. But notwithstanding, he was critical of the federal agents inserting themselves into the state courthouse. He wrote, quote, "Trust me when I tell you that the federal agents who planned to arrest Flores-Ruiz in the state courthouse would never have done the same thing in a federal courthouse. They didn't..."
Of course not. They would have done this in federal courthouse.
Tell Judge Dugan or the chief judge of the court that they were coming. They didn't alert court security personnel or the local police.
Now, this is all things that they should do, right? Tell the judge, at least the chief judge, security, local law enforcement, all these people should have known that they were coming rather than just chilling out, hanging out in a hallway like some fucking creeps.
Federal system, agents of the executive branch would have understood that they do not have carte blanche to conduct enforcement operations in a federal courthouse, the judiciary's turf. They would not conduct a planned non-exigent arrest in a courthouse without first ensuring that they had the cooperation of the chief judge, any judge whose cases might be affected, and the court security personnel. The Justice Department would grasp that if the federal judiciary believed that law enforcement agents of the executive branch were exploiting the court's administration of justice, it would not go well for the DOJ in the many law enforcement initiatives, search warrants, wiretaps, grand juries, trials, etc., for which they need the federal judiciary's assistance. Now, a good lawyer...
So what he's saying is, if they would have pulled this at the federal level, they would have had a real hard time with judges helping them out on all their other fucking cases if they'd have pulled this at the federal level. But they think they can roll through over a state court.
And spoiler alert, Judge Dugan now has one. We'll also focus on the affiant statement that, quote, having received the above referenced information from DE...
Oh, wait. I want to cover that.
They need the federal judiciary's assistance. Now, a good lawyer, and spoiler alert, Judge Dugan now has one, will...
Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan adds former Bush Solicitor General to defense team. Paul Clement was also on President Trump's short list of Supreme Court nominees. So again, it's not just like left-wing liberal, blah, blah, blah. People that actually believe in the justice system are coming. This was a guy that Trump almost appointed to Supreme Court. So he's not like a leftist lunatic, blue hair, nose ring, whatever you want to call him, right?
We'll also focus on the affiant statement that, quote, having received the above referenced...
Especially you at Sicko. You're so little, somebody could pop you in their handbag.
Information from DEA Agent A, other members of the arrest team scrambled to locate Flores-Ruiz and arrest him. It's undisputed that Flores-Ruiz ran, but why was there a mad scramble to arrest him if they had an administrative warrant that gave them the right to arrest him in a public area of the courthouse? The entire episode, starting with Flores-Ruiz arriving in the courthouse and ending with...
It's weird they didn't try to arrest him in the courthouse. Right?
For 29 months.
Thank you, Red Flash Queen. Thank you very much. It's weird that they didn't try to arrest him in the courthouse. They waited till he's outside, and then he ran. But like they had the warrant to do it in public space, right in the hallway. It's almost like they knew they were walking on thin ice.
Took 22 minutes, and they had eyes on him the entire time, according to the affidavit. So for the sin of ushering Flores Ruiz and his attorney out the back door into a hallway that led right back to the hallway where she'd seen the law enforcement agents, Judge Dugan is now being charged with 2 crimes, one of which carries a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment and $250,000 fine. Now, if you're also a state judge who's been arrested by the DOJ, you're going to want a good lawyer. But if you want a great lawyer, my law firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've gotten in a car crash, suffered a data breach, especially if you've got a data breach letter saying your information might have been leaked, or dealing with a workers' comp or social security issue, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney. And by the way, we don't get paid unless you do, so there's nothing up front. So just click on the link in the description or call the phone number on screen for a free consultation with my team.
The Eagle Team.
You need the Eagle Team. Yes, on April 24, 2025, President Trump's Department of Justice charged Judge Dugan with 2 criminal counts, a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1505 for obstruction.
So it's obstructing or impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States, which you'll find a lot of people from January 6th were charged with this. This actually went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruling made it a lot harder to charge people with this and get convictions on it, and then concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. Neither one of these are going to stick. There's no fucking way.
Obstructing or impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States, and a violation of 18 U.S.C. 1071.
If they thought it was going to stick, it would be in there, and they'd be like, okay, well, we'll see what the court says. You don't believe us? We'll see what the court says. We'll see what the court says. But instead, they're trying to get all this negative fucking attention on it right off the bat. She's a lunatic. They're maniacs. They're crazy. They're hiding them. They're doing this because they need to maximize the press coverage they can get to make other judges think twice about this.
For concealing an individual to prevent his discovery.
Or about not this in particular, about anything that helps an immigrant.
And the next day, on April 25th, 2025, the Trump administration arrested Judge Dugan at the courthouse. She was released the same day and is awaiting the adjudication of the charges. And by all accounts, she could have been requested to show up for the charges, but instead they made a point to arrest her at the court.
It's another thing. She's a judge. Typically, what would happen if they have charges on her is they would request her to appear, right? It's not like me and you having an arrest warrant. They kick down your fucking door or whatever. They would request her to appear. They made a special point of showing up to arrest her because it's all about Trump's TV show that we're all trapped in.
Courthouse. Now, 18 U.S.C. Section 1505 states in part that, quote, whoever corruptly or by threats or force or by any threatening letter or communication influences, obstructs or impedes or endeavors to influence, obstruct or impede the due and proper administration of the law under which any pending proceeding is being had before any department or agency of the United States. Now, in an interesting twist, a lot of the January 6 defendants were charged with this particular crime, and recently the Supreme Court has made it more difficult to charge and prosecute people with this particular crime, taking a narrower view of these elements. But even before that, this would seem like a difficult case for the government to make against Judge Dugan.
So he's saying even before the Supreme Court narrowed this statute, it would still be a hard case to make.
Judge Dugan did not engage in any corruption, threats, or force. Her alleged confrontations with law enforcement agents were well within the bounds of a judge attempting to protect the integrity of her courtroom and proceedings, and at no point does the government's criminal complaint claim that Judge Dugan was violent or threatening. Judge Dugan also does not appear to have any earnest attempts to obstruct or impede law enforcement's arrest of Flores Ruiz. She merely led him out a door that led into a private hallway that led him right back to the public hallway. So unless there are some other operative details that the government didn't seem fit to include in its filings, Section 1505 will probably be a difficult case to make. Now, the charges under 18 U.S.C. 1071 seem even less likely. Section 1071 states, quote, whoever harbors or conceals any person for whose arrest a warrant or process has been issued under the provisions of any law of the United States so as to prevent his discovery and arrest after notice or knowledge of the fact that a warrant or process has been issued for the apprehension of such person shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. Now, there are 4 essential elements that the government has to show in order to prosecute Judge Dugan under the statute. 1, a federal warrant has been issued for the fugitive's arrest. 2, the defendant had knowledge that a warrant had been issued for the fugitive's arrest. 3, the defendant actually harbored or concealed the fugitive. And 4, the defendant intended to prevent the fugitive's discovery or...
Yeah, that was down in Texas. A Trump-appointed judge struck that down. In Texas, of all places.
Arrest. Now, first, according to the conversation that law enforcement officers had with Judge Dugan, all that ICE possessed was an administrative...
He said that it well exceeds the scope of that law.
Warrant, which may not qualify as a federal warrant for the purposes of fulfilling the first element of the statute. And if Judge Dugan didn't believe that the administrative warrant qualifies as a federal warrant, then it would be difficult to prove that the second element, knowledge of a federal warrant, could be met. And the final 2 elements seem equally unlikely. Would a jury find that by directing Flores Ruiz out the door into the back hallway, Judge Dugan had, quote, actually harbored or concealed the fugitive? That seems unlikely since Flores Ruiz quickly returned to the main hallway where...
He literally just popped out like 5 feet down from where they thought he was going to come out, right? He didn't go into a secret hallway to a different floor, to a door, to the roof, to a helicopter. He went the long way out to the same spot.
He rode an elevator with one of the law enforcement officers and was apprehended soon thereafter. Did the judge's actions amount to concealment when two government officers were in the 6th floor hallway with Flores Ruiz? They probably could have arrested him right then. Flores Ruiz went down the elevator with his lawyer and an ICE officer, and they knew Flores Ruiz was unarmed but did not arrest him. Instead, they alerted the other officers that he was outside next to the flagpole. 4 officers were waiting for Flores Ruiz, who then made a break for it. Judge Dugan was still on the 6th floor of the courthouse at that time. And it seems equally improbable that by directing Flores Ruiz out the back door, Judge Dugan intended to prevent his discovery or arrest, since she would have been quite familiar with the fact that the back hallway leads right back to the public hallway where she'd previously seen law enforcement agents. Now, the mens rea requirement for violation 10 U.S.C. 1071 includes 1, knowing that a warrant or process had been issued for the person's arrest, and 2, intending to prevent that person's discovery or arrest. The statute does not require that the defendant have the specific intent to prevent the person's arrest for all time. The major question was whether Judge Dugan was trying to prevent Flores Ruiz from being arrested that day, as the government alleges, or whether she was trying to protect the integrity of her own courtroom. Judge Dugan has not issued her own statement, but here's what the government says, quote,
I think, honestly, what she could argue, and could likely be what she thought, is she didn't want him opening the door and 5 ICE agents standing there and it's spilling over into her fucking courtroom, right? Because the first thing the guy's going to do, if he's willing to run outside, the first thing he's going to do when he opens the door and there's 5 ICE agents standing there and they start moving towards him, he's going to come back in the courtroom.
Judge Dugan asked if Deportation Officer A had a judicial warrant, and Deportation Officer A responded, no, I have an administrative warrant. Judge Dugan stated that the Deportation Officer A needed a judicial warrant. Officer A told Judge Dugan that Officer A was in a public space and had a valid immigration warrant. Judge Dugan asked to see the administrative warrant, and Officer A offered to show it to her. Judge Dugan then demanded that Officer A speak to the Chief Judge. Judge Dugan then had a similar interaction with FBI Agent B and CBP Officer A. After finding out that they were not present for a court appearance and that they were with ICE, Judge Dugan ordered them to report to the Chief Judge's office. Now, this interaction is up for interpretation. It's arguable that the judge was trying to decipher whether it was a judicial or administrative warrant, which she could have thought dictated how they could legally respond to their request. And as we discussed, if it was an administrative warrant, then she didn't have to help ICE.
That's some kind of weird bot.
To prove that she intended to help him evade arrest. Well, the affidavit says that she was angry, and that could be probative, but a judge can be angry at many different things. The most serious evidence against Judge Dugan hinges on the court's deputy insinuating that Judge Dugan made an exception to normal procedure to help him avoid arrest. The affidavit says, quote, according to the courtroom deputy, only deputies, juries, court staff, and in-custody defendants being escorted by deputies use the back jury door. Defense attorneys and defendants who were not in custody never used the jury door. The deputy also said that Judge Dugan was pushing his case through. The government reports that the, quote, arrest team interpreted to mean that Judge Dugan was attempting to expedite Flores Ruiz's hearing. Hat tip to Marcy Wheeler, who identified many of these issues. As she notes, there are other witnesses to what happened that day who weren't interviewed, most notably the Chief Judge. And according to the affidavit, the Chief Judge was in the process of writing.
It is weird that they didn't interview hardly any, they didn't take statements or interviews from hardly anybody there, except the one guy that's like, oh yeah, we don't usually do that.
Policy on how to handle this very situation. Quote, the Chief Judge emphasized that such actions should not take place in courtrooms or other private locations within the building. Deportation Officer A asked about whether enforcement actions could take place in the hallway. The Chief Judge indicated that hallways are public areas. Now, this could be consistent with the distinction between administrative and judicial warrants and with how Judge Dugan handled this scenario. There's a lot we don't know here, like whether the Chief Judge told Judge Dugan that ICE was free to arrest Flores Ruiz in the hall. If convicted, Judge Dugan would be sentenced under the U.S. sentencing guidelines, and realistically, the guideline range would be 15 to 21 months. Now, additionally, Judge Dugan will likely argue that she was acting within the scope of her official duties as judge. Judges have extremely wide latitude to control their courtrooms. Federal officers cannot commandeer state actors, and there's nothing inherently wrong or illegal about letting a defendant who was before her on state criminal matters leave the courtroom however she liked. I'm sure the federal agents would have liked for her to comply with their every request, but state officials are under no obligation to acquiesce. So I'm sure her argument will be that she was a state judge controlling her courtroom as she saw fit, and had no obligation to comply with anything the federal officers asked, especially in light of the administrative rather than judicial warrant, and that her actions in her own courtroom were official acts outside of the purview of the federal actors. Still, even if that defense is successful, leaving through the not regular door into a private hallway that eventually led back to the public hallway is not a good look. And as a criminal matter, the facts in Judge Dugan's case likely won't lead themselves to an easy victory for the Trump administration. And reasonable minds can differ on the actions of Judge Dugan. But if I may opine for a moment, what bothers me are the tag-along effects of arresting a judge. At best, it would be a marginal case, and you might think the charges are BS, or you might think that the judge was trying to facilitate the man's escape. But given the clear federalism issues between the state court wanting to control its own courthouse and the lack of notice from federal officers to either the particular judge or the chief judge, this smacks of retaliation and politics. And just as the DOJ has reams of regulations and procedures that must be complied with before they arrest a politician, if the DOJ were to move forward with arresting a state judge, you would want it to be the most ironclad dead to rights case you've ever seen. And however you feel, that's not this case. This looks like it's about forcing compliance and sending a message. So even as we now understand them, given the government's filings, the facts in Judge Dugan's case won't lend themselves to an easy victory for the Trump administration. During President Trump's first term, Massachusetts Judge Shelley Joseph was also arrested after the Trump DOJ accused her of helping an undocumented immigrant evade ICE arrest when he was in her—
This one's much worse. This one right here is much worse.
courtroom for a hearing. The government investigated for a year before filing charges against her. The biggest difference is that Joseph helped the defendant leave the courthouse through a door that was not.
She like turned off, told the court reporter to stop reporting, gave special instructions to the immigrant and his attorney. Like there was a lot of shit that happened.
Public. She also allegedly turned off recording devices in the court with the implication that the defense attorney asked the judge to help the person escape. The defense attorney accepted immunity to testify against the judge, which helped the government prove corrupt intent. It also took ICE 2 weeks to catch the defendant, which seems like it makes this case very different from Judge Dugan's case. The Biden DOJ later dropped the charges against Judge Joseph in exchange for her promise to refer herself to the Massachusetts Commission on Judicial Conduct for a full investigation of her actions. And in December 2024, the Massachusetts Commission on Judicial Conduct filed administrative charges against Judge Joseph, finding that she, quote, engaged in willful judicial misconduct that brought the judicial office into disrepute, as well as conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice and unbecoming a judicial officer. Judge Joseph's actions, though, appeared to be more serious than Judge Dugan's actions, where Judge Dugan simply directed Flores Ruiz to a different door that took him to the very same hallway where the immigration enforcement agents were waiting. Judge Joseph was accused of directing the undocumented immigrant to a building door that effectively permitted the immigrant to exit the courthouse and evade ICE arrest. The government also claimed that Judge Joseph instructed the court reporter to discontinue the court reporting, as Judge Joseph gave the immigrant and his attorney these instructions. But even those actions were seemingly not sufficient to warrant a criminal finding, only a charge by the state commission. But those charges were dropped by the DOJ, so it's unclear what's going to happen here. And the government will be facing a formidable list of legal foes in its battle against Judge Dugan. A stunning lineup of all-star attorneys have volunteered to represent her, including former U.S. Solicitor General Paul Clement, who was appointed by Republican President George W. Bush. But in the meantime, Judge Dugan has been temporarily suspended by the Wisconsin Supreme Court, while the federal charges are pending. This isn't meant to be a punishment, no finding was made against her, but it will keep her from doing her job and likely make other judges more fearful. But another case in New Mexico might offer the administration...
So this is the one that they might get. The guy kind of basically admitted to destroying the phone with a hammer.
A greater chance of an actual conviction against a judge. Now, in the New Mexico case, according to the government's filings, 3 undocumented immigrants were living with permission on the property that belonged to former Judge Jose Joel Cano and his wife Nancy Cano. The government received a tip that one of the men, a Venezuelan national named Christian Ortega Lopez, was a suspected member of the Tren de Aragua.
I do not
legally possess several.
Let me be clear. I do not think the judge or his wife thought this guy was a gang member. I don't at all. Why would you let a gang member live on your property, especially from this super violent gang? Hang out with your daughter, hang out with your wife, all that, like, that's just silly. But I also think that they like this guy. They didn't want to get caught. He admits to destroying the phone.
Firearms. The government obtained 2 judicial search warrants and searched Jose Cano's property and another location. And at the other location, they found several illegal firearms. Law enforcement arrested Ortega Lopez and, after interviewing him, concluded that one of his cell phones was unaccounted for. They executed another search on Jose Cano's home and brought Jose Cano in for questioning. According to the government's criminal complaint, while being questioned, Cano admitted that he had destroyed Ortega Lopez's cell phone because he believed it contained pictures or videos that would reflect negatively on Ortega Lopez, specifically pictures of Ortega Lopez with firearms. Mr. Cano's wife, Nancy, was also arrested after the government obtained a video call she had with Ortega Lopez while he was in the detention center. In the call, the government claims that Nancy Cano displayed Ortega Lopez's phone to him on the screen and offered to delete his Facebook account for him. Law enforcement has maintained that Ortega Lopez...
Cano and Ortega discussed Ortega deleting his Facebook account. The following is a summary of the discussion between Nancy Cano and Ortega, and not verbatim record of the conversation. In the video call, Nancy Cano is heard asking Ortega if his Facebook account can be deleted. Ortega responds yes to erase. Nancy Cano then directs Ortega to ask his attorney the next day and to provide him the information to arrest his Facebook account. Ortega then responds to Nancy Cano saying he cannot remember the information, but his attorney can get it. Nancy Cano responds to Ortega saying, I don't know, but ask him tomorrow. Ortega tells Nancy Cano the Facebook account was on his phone that's in her possession, the black one, and that she can erase it. Ortega continues to say she can't erase it because it is open, apparently referring to Facebook.
Lopez's Facebook account contained significant photographic evidence regarding the crimes he'd been charged with, including pictures of him with firearms, gang-related tattoos, clothing, and hand gestures. Agents executed another search warrant at the Cano's residence on April 24th to locate Ortega Lopez's 4th unrecovered cell phone. During that search, Joel Cano allegedly admitted to smashing the cell phone with a hammer 5 weeks prior because he believed it contained photos and videos of Ortega Lopez that would incriminate him. Judge Cano resigned from his position after the New Mexico Judicial Standards Commission initiated disciplinary action. Cano told...
And he tells the other judges there as well that he did the same thing.
Commission that the 3 men were asylum seekers who had asylum hearings scheduled. He also alleged that the 3 men traveled throughout the U.S. and
they've been through U.S. security checkpoints, and that if they had lacked legal documentation, they would have been arrested at those checkpoints. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, multiple photos and videos of social media show Ortega Lopez and other undocumented men handling firearms at a shooting range in Las Cruces. The guns, including a 6-hour P365, an AR-15 rifle, equipped with a suppressor and other high-powered firearms and ammunition. The U.S. DOJ said in its news release. U.S. DOJ also said that the tattoos, hand gestures, and clothing worn in the photo suggest Ortega Lopez is affiliated with Tren de Aragua gang. In March, President invoked blah, blah, blah. Trump said they were infiltrating the U.S. and conducting irregular warfare.
Made it through checkpoints without being detained. Though the fact that they made it through checkpoints is not the best indication that they were here legally. But regardless of whether the Canos reasonably believe that the men were legal, their actions are extremely serious. And obviously you can't destroy evidence, even if you're a judge or a former judge. In response to Jose and Nancy Cano's actions, law enforcement charged them both with violations of 18 U.S.C. 1512. Jose Cano was charged with tampering with evidence, and Nancy Cano was charged with conspiracy to tamper with evidence. Now, if it's true that Jose Cano admitted to destroying the phone in order to destroy evidence of Ortega Lopez's gang involvement, then the government may actually have a case here. But again, they will have to prove that in court. Here, given Judge Cano's position in public trust and his alleged action to destroy evidence, his sentence would start at 21 to 27 months with prison time required. But unfortunately, instead of letting the jury adjudicate the charges and staying focused on the destruction of evidence, the Trump administration has used Jose Cano's case to make a statement about broader immigration policies in sanctuary cities. In an official DOJ statement about the arrests of Judges Dugan and Cano, DOJ Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche proclaimed, quote,
They never miss an opportunity for some good press.
Sanctuary cities that shield criminal aliens endanger American communities. This Justice Department will not stand by as local officials put politics over public safety. Reckless sanctuary city policies create a sanctuary for one class. Criminals, those days are over. Which is interesting and unfortunate because neither of those cases were actually about sanctuary cities. But both of these cases seem to be the tip of the spear for a larger policy objective. In a January 2025 memo by Acting Attorney General Emile Beauvais, the administration proclaimed its intention to, quote, take all steps necessary to remove undocumented immigrants and prosecute them for crimes. Trump's DOJ indicated that it planned to do more vigorous prosecution for a long list of immigration-related crimes, including crimes that involved harboring or transporting undocumented immigrants. The administration went so far as to require prosecutors to do regular reporting to the DOJ on immigration enforcement numbers and to disclose to the DOJ all decisions not to prosecute. Now, we've talked a lot recently about how executive orders and DOJ policy memos aren't actually the law, but this is an example of where these kinds of memos actually have some real effect. Here, the administration took aim at sanctuary cities and state and local government officials who, in the opinion of the administration, stood between the administration and their deportation goals, arguing that, quote, the Supremacy Clause and other authorities require state and local actors to comply with the executive branch's immigration enforcement initiatives. Federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, and otherwise failing to comply with lawful immigration-related commands and requests pursuant to, for example, the President's extensive Article 2 authority with respect to foreign affairs and national security, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the Alien Enemies Act. The memo proclaimed that the DOJ intended to investigate and prosecute state and local officials who obstruct immigration enforcement. And Trump doubled down on this in his April 28, 2025 executive order on, quote, protecting American communities from criminal aliens. In that order, the administration reiterated its goal to, quote, pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures against sanctuary cities. So given the Trump administration's ongoing hostility toward any officials that don't genuflect to its draconian and questionably legal immigration policies, and its dislike of judges in particular, it's not surprising that the DOJ decided to go after Judge Dugan. But it's particularly interesting to see how the media has covered the arrests of both judges. The arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin was so shocking that a whopping 620 sources covering it, with about 50% of the reporting coming in from the center, a little more than 30% from the left, and less than 20% coming from the right. And when you examine the headlines, you see some very different frames emerge that shape how readers interpret and understand the events that are unfolding. From the right, the most common theme is to refer to the migrant as an illegal immigrant and
there you go. That's why one case will probably stick and the other one won't. I don't know if you guys saw this clip. This is fucking hilarious.
Something easier. Donald, tell us what the Declaration. So let's give him something easier. Donald, tell us what the Declaration of Independence is. And remember, this is the document in which we declared.
Fuck dogs. Of course, you have the Declaration of Independence. What does it mean to you? Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's
is that what the Declaration of Independence is? Unity, love, respect.
Something very special to
that face.
Teacher about to call the school psychologist. So let's give him something easier.
There's a slightly longer clip of this on TikTok. Let me grab it right quick. And you guys here, watch Jack Doherty get robbed and then flip out on a security guard. They snatched his chains, baby.
Fucking robbed me. They just took both my fucking chains, bro. Fuck, dog. Jake, what the fuck, bro? They had a gun. Where's yours? What the? Bro, they just fucking robbed.
He said they had a gun.
Chains, bro. Fuck, dog. Jake, what the fuck, bro? They had a gun. Where's yours?
Where's your gun?
What the? Bro, they just fucking robbed me. They just took both my.
I'm so glad this guy got robbed. He's kind of a piece of shit though. Like he deserves it. Okay. Here's one. No, don't repost it. Copy link. That's one. Let me send this to myself. Give me just a second. That's not the one I'm wanting, but here's one. Definitely want that one. He's coughing during the middle of my answer. Where is the Daily Show clip? Did I already pass it? A cabinet meeting without sucking off Trump. Seems impossible. I'll grab this one first. Hold on. Refresh. Jack Doherty got robbed. They snatched both his chains. Then he yells at his security guard. The security guard's like, he had a gun. Where's yours? That should play.
And
oh, there it is.
That over. He's coughing in the middle of my answer. Yeah, okay. I don't like that, you know? Your chief of staff. If you're going to cough, please leave the room.
Get a shot of, and I'll come over here.
You just can't.
If you're going to cough, please leave the room.
Just to change the shot. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, you want to...
By the way, look at that makeup line, dude. You guys see that? Look at that makeup line. 2 big giant circles. Who the fuck does his makeup? Who the fuck does it? Because they're fucking trolling him.
Sorry.
Let's watch this again.
A little different. And
he coughed in the middle of my answer. If you're going to cough, leave the room.
Let's do that over. He's coughing in the middle of my answer. Yeah, okay. I don't like that, you know? Your chief of staff. If you're going to cough, please leave the room.
They laughed at it. No, I'm serious.
Get a shot of, and I'll come over here.
You just can't.
Just to change the shot. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, you want to do that a little differently then?
Yeah, we just changed the angle. Yep.
Got to treat him like Michael Scott, baby.
So at some point, I look forward to, frankly, I'd like to have people see.
Jesus Christ. All right, let's grab this next one. This is the full Daily Show clip.
Trump himself celebrated the big 100 by inviting ABC News reporter Terry Moran to the White House for an interview. And Trump kicked things off by asking the same thing every kid does when a guest comes to the house. Want to see my room?
Hello, everybody. How are you? This is the Oval Office. This is an amazing space. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, in terms of modernization.
Beautification, modernization. That's what he's added to the White House.
Modernization? This looks like my great-grandmother decorated the mantelpiece with her great-grandmother's ashes. And I know that beautification is in the eye of the beholdification, but we can all agree that the Foam Core Gulf of America map is pulling focus, right? Is the Gulf of America having a bridal shower in the banquet room of the Hilton Garden Inn? Because if it's not, get it out of here. But okay, you know what? Show me a few more things in your room, and then I got to go join the grown-ups.
See Ronald Reagan here. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here. That's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine. Why is he?
Who would bet that Trump knows anything about the Monroe Doctrine? Other than it has to do with Monroe and it's a doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine's easy. It's basically like Europe, the Western Hemisphere over here, America's to itself. Stop fucking with us. Don't fuck with us. You're not colonizing. We're over here now. You stay over there and we won't fuck with your shit. That's it. Right? That's it. The Western Hemisphere is no longer under Europe's control and colonization and messing with politics and countries. And we won't fuck with your shit either. That's it. What do you think he knows anything about it? Well, it is a doctrine, so...
Room, and then I got to go join the grown-ups.
See Ronald Reagan here. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here. That's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine. Why is he up there? I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. You know, that was his claim to fame.
You know, the Monroe Doctrine. Why is he important? Well, the Monroe Doctrine, important. It doctrines something.
Trump is always in the I forgot to do the reading mode. Man, that Monroe Doctrine, so important. My favorite part, probably the doctrine. And doctrine, as we all know, is a female doctor. But you know what? We can't expect Trump to know anything about a president whose picture he put up. It's not fair. So let's give him something easier. Donald, tell us what the...
Remember when he had fucking Jackson up there and he's like, and that one? He's like, look, you got Lincoln and Washington. And what about this guy over here? He was one, right? That guy right there. He was a president, right?
Declaration of Independences. And remember, this is the document in which we declared independence.
Of course, you have the Declaration of Independence. What does it mean to you? Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to.
It literally says, "Fuck you. We're done with your shits." What do you mean? It's a declaration of love and unity. It's a letter to England telling them to fuck off. It's a declaration of love and unity, and it declares it.
Respect, and it means a lot.
Respect.
It's something very special to our country.
Look at Terry Moran's face. He looks like a teacher about to call the school psychologist. This is a great drawing. Stay right here. But of course he'd make that face. Trump said that the Declaration of Independence meant unity. Unity is the opposite of independence. How did Trump find the one time that unity and love is the wrong answer? What makes this even more sad is that the Declaration of Independence is basically the colonies filing for divorce. It's the one thing Trump should absolutely recognize. And all of that was supposed to be the softball part.
He should recognize them filing for divorce.
The interview. It wasn't until Moran pulled up his serious chair that the questions got hard.
Now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars.
She is funny. She makes a very, very funny. I don't know if it's her or the writers. She makes a very funny joke about the Gulf of America here in a minute.
And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it. I said all these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period.
Really?
Is that what he said?
Actually said that. Could we just check the tape on that?
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day
1,047. But first, prices will go so high you'll be sucking D for eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Prices will go so high you'll be sucking dick for eggs.
My bad. I misremembered. But the wildest part of the interview by far was when it turned to Trump's deportation of Kilmar Garcia, who Trump says doesn't need due process because anyone can tell that Garcia is in the gang MS-13 just by looking at his tattoos.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattoo.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Okay, let me just explain what's going on.
It reminds me of when you're playing peekaboo with a toddler. And you cover your eyes and they're like, where the fuck did he go? He's gone. He vanished in their head. That's Trump, right? Like if you brought Abrego Garcia to the White House today and showed Trump his hand, it would blow his mind. What? So you had it removed? No. So it's different. It's your other hand.
On here. Garcia has tattoos on his hand, and someone labeled a photo of them trying to prove that they're actually a code. The problem is Trump thinks that the labels are part of the tattoo, and he is very, very insistent on it.
Let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He didn't have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop.
Do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
You want me to show you the picture, Terry? I'll show you the picture.
Photoshop.
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
No,
sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted.
Now I understand why he's so proud of that Gulf of America poster. He thinks Gulf of America is actually written on top of the water.
He thinks the letters for Gulf of America is actually floating around in the Gulf.
Crazy is that Terry Moran kept trying to change topics, but Trump wouldn't let him. I have never seen an interview where a reporter catches a politician in a gotcha, and the politician is the one who says, stop trying to move on. I am not done embarrassing myself. But I will hand it to Terry Moran. He held his ground to the point where it actually wore Trump out. And that's when we saw a moment of vulnerability from Trump.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
By the way, this is what everybody around him has to do. Either agree with him, or he'll get to the point where he'll say, just agree with me.
Okay,
we'll take a look.
It's you just such a disservice.
We'll take a look.
Why don't you just say yes, he does, and go on to something else?
Contested. Ukraine.
Why don't you just say I'm right? Up is down, left is right, Santa's real. And that is Trump in a nutshell. I can't prove the insane things I believe, so just go along with them. Don't believe your eyes, believe the Photoshop. But I for one, will not believe the Photoshop, okay? I will go into the rest of the term with my eyes wide open, staring and watching. Oh, God, no! Oh, my eyes, my beautificated eyes!
She is pretty funny. You have to admit that. She's pretty funny. It's just so wild. Like, he's dumb as fuck. He's so dumb. And I don't know what to say other than he's dumb as fuck. Somehow people elected him. Somehow.
Bianca, do you think I'm gay just because my cousin tried to get my mouth pregnant until I was 14? You know he was just wilding out. No, you're brave for speaking out about that. It's the fact you're not as concerned your cousin killed a pregnant woman. And I listened to the entire album. It only gets worse. You mean the song that goes, I hugged my dad, reached around and squeezed his cheeks. 20 years later, he's behind a COVID lab leak. Yes? Well, what about this one? Took my brother in the closet, 7 minutes in heaven. Then he grew up and did 9/11. Yes, I'm trying to be supportive of you, but it's hard when your entire next album is about hooking up with family members who commit terrible crimes. I knew it. You think I'm gay, Bianca? Hello? You're not gay. Who is this? Why are you doing that with your voice? That's not important. You need to know the truth. Food dyes have been linked to neurological and behavioral changes in children like ADHD and Tourette's. Or like your cousin dribbling your head on his pelvis like a basketball. I don't understand. You're not making any sense.
If you don't know what's going on, Kanye's new song talks about how he gave blowjobs to his so that him and his cousin, his male cousin, found a porn magazine underneath his dad's mattress. But he also found his mom's porn, which was guy on guy stuff, I guess, in her closet. So he gave this cousin blowjobs till he was 14, and now that cousin's in prison for murdering some people.
Think about it. Why do you think there's a cereal called Fruity Pebbles? Oh my God. The food dyes and Fruity Pebbles makes you fruity. That's exactly right. You are what you eat. And what do you think happens when you consume the food dyes and flaming hot Cheetos? They make you a flaming hot homo. That's exactly. That's why your cousin put his gummy worm in your peach ring. Wow. This is
his gummy worm in your peach ring.
Providing so much clarity. Thank you, whoever you are. Bianca, it was never my fault. The food dyes made me go down on my cousin. What do you say we celebrate somehow? I'm thinking we market some of my products by having you go to a gay pride parade with the hooters and your foof exposed. Bianca, do you think I'm... Carmelo Anthony, I invited you here because you profited $500,000.
Oh, no.
Simply stabbing a white kid at a track meet. Possibly in self-defense and also possibly not. Either way, I admire your entrepreneurial creativity. With my ability to profit off of marginalized black communities and your successful business idea, we will make lots of money. I know exactly how...
I don't know who this comedian is.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate
you. Oh, God.
The first astronaut to sing in space for real.
Thanks, Jeff. It was one small step for...
This is Al Berry, the comedian.
One giant leap for my lifetime's tour. By the way, it's Captain Perry now. I know you're just a simple businessman, but I went to space for real. That makes
Captain Perry. Excuse me, Captain. Hello?
I guess he does stand up too. Hold on. Does he do stand up or does he just do cartoons? Because it says I'm a stand up comedian. Yes, I make all the tunes myself. But maybe he has a different channel for his stand up. Jesus Christ. Kanye West's new songs are wild. Like, they just straight up, they talk about Hitler and being a Nazi and how can they say I like Hitler. How can I be a Nazi when I'm just a black N-word? Like, they are crazy. Crazy. Then we've got the most clear example of corruption.
This isn't even like textbook corruption, because you would not need to get to the level of school that uses textbooks in order to get to this level of understanding of corruption. This is like a coloring book of corruption. This is like corruption that you could understand if you've never been to any school ever, anywhere. It's just a little throwaway line in a much bigger story, but sometimes those little throwaway lines are very helpful, and they really stick with me. I'll show you what I mean. Here's the headline in the Wall Street Journal. The headline is, Anxious Trading Partners Promise to Buy American to Stave Off Trump's Tariffs. You've seen a million articles like this, right? The bulk of the article under that headline is about what you would expect. Again, you've seen a lot like this. It's about various countries trying to strike deals with the U.S. so they can get themselves some relief, some favored treatment from Trump amid his gigantic, catastrophic world tariff experiment. So the countries are trying to get themselves some kind of relief, and among those discussed in this article is the nation of Vietnam. According to the Wall Street Journal, Vietnam has been trying to fend off...
Now listen, Vietnam is trying to get rid of tariffs, of U.S. tariffs on their goods. So they're dealing with the country of the U.S. and the country of Vietnam. They're not dealing with Trump personally. They're dealing with the country.
Harsh treatment under Trump's tariffs by, number one, buying American jets. Number two...
That makes sense. We'll buy American jet. We'll buy $300 million worth of American jets. That makes sense.
Allowing the Starlink internet service that's owned by Donald Trump's top campaign donor, Elon Musk.
What? I mean, I guess you could kind of pitch that as like an American company, kind of... Seems kind of close to home, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if Vietnam was negotiating tariffs with the U.S., and they're like, well, we're going to buy crack off Hunter Biden. People would be like, that's weird, right? It gets worse.
To operate inside their country. Weird that they decided that was a good idea. And number three, here's the kicker. Vietnam has also, quote, decided to accelerate the approvals for a $1.5 billion Trump resort in Vietnam.
Why would Vietnam, the country, think that to get relief from tariffs from the United States as a country, the way to do that would be to suggest to approve a $1.5 billion Trump resort in Vietnam? Seems like they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Vietnam. Oh, weird how that might get you better treatment from the U.S. government. I mean, I'm sure.
But even worse than all of that is his cryptocurrency.
Vietnam has lots of good reasons to make sure a Trump Organization resort project is moving forward. Lots and lots and lots of them. It's weird that they think that might be correlated with the U.S. government giving them some sort of favorable treatment. But let's just stick a pin in that one for a second. There's another story I want to tell you. And I will tell you, even though I'm going to use the word cryptocurrency in telling you this story, don't worry, you don't have to understand anything about cryptocurrency in order to get this story. But here it is. A couple of years ago, the Justice Department accused an online cryptocurrency company that's called Binance of being basically a supermarket for crime.
Right.
DOJ accused Binance.
Binance was just, they weren't doing due diligence and checking for money laundering.
Of being a giant money laundering hub for terrorists and cyber criminals and customers in sanctioned countries like Iran and Russia. Binance pled guilty. They paid over $4 billion. That was the largest fine ever in the history of crypto. Its founder spent 4 months in prison. Ever since, Binance has been overseen by U.S. government appointed monitors who ensure that Binance is...
So they have constant monitoring to make sure that they're not operating with the United States and they're not financing terrorists or dictatorial regimes. Fuck, I can't talk. Or whatever is illegal.
No longer a supermarket for crime. It is now following the law and making sure Binance is only operating overseas and not operating in the United States at all. Now, Binance, naturally, they would very much like to get out from under that oversight, and they would very much like to operate in the United States again. But to do...
Now, how could Binance get on Trump's good side? They don't want, so the two things they don't want the monitors anymore, and they want their pardon for their president, their CEO.
Do that, they need to get these pesky government monitors off their back. They need the U.S. government to decide they are out of the doghouse. And it would make their return easier, of course, if their founder were no longer a convicted felon. Well, when Donald Trump won the election last year, Binance sensed opportunity. This is also from the Wall Street Journal, quote, at an Abu Dhabi crypto conference last December, weeks before the inauguration, in the Wales-only back room, accessible to attendees who had paid $10,000 for a VIP pass, Binance's founder mingled with Trump's son Eric, and Trump allies. Eric was there to promote World Liberty, a crypto venture the Trump family had founded months earlier. For World Liberty, Binance's market power could help turn it into a serious player in the crypto industry. Binance has more than 250 million users. The more World Liberty cryptocurrency in circulation, of course, quote, the more the Trump family could profit. Again, ignore the word like cryptocurrency. This could be anything. I mean, say the Trump family had launched a new company that makes doohickeys. Well, Binance, if they partnered with the Trump family in this enterprise, they could get Trump doohickeys in front of hundreds of millions of potential customers.
Weird, huh?
Which mean lots of profit for the Trump family. That is what Binance is offering to the Trump family. What does Binance want? Well, their convicted felon founder, quote, has been pushing for a Trump administration pardon. Has been pushing for the Trump administration to grant him a pardon. And the Wall Street Journal reports, quote, executives from Binance met with Treasury Department officials last month and discussed loosening U.S. government oversight on the company. Quote, Binance executives are optimistic.
Imagine that.
The Trump administration will acquiesce. Oh, yeah. Oh, they are they? Maybe that's because as president, Donald Trump has already pardoned a whole slew of crypto felons, and his Justice Department has just disbanded its crypto policing unit. And also because Trump's SEC halted an investigation of another crypto executive after that executive dumped $75 million into the Trump family crypto company. So if the Wall Street Journal's reporting on this bears out, this is not even like this isn't even like textbook corruption, because you would not need to get to the level of school that uses textbooks in order to get to this level of understanding of corruption. This is like a coloring book of corruption. This is like corruption that you could...
Not to mention the people that are buying Trump coin to go to his secret dinner and shit.
This isn't even like...
Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. People that are sinking millions into Trump coin to go to the fucking dinner. It's...
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from happening, but what we don't take out.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes? This was at the top of your press release. This was mentioned when you introduced this bill, created quite a stir. So I'm asking, can you name a school where it's been confirmed that there are litter boxes being provided to students?
This rumor still exists. Why? There's no evidence.
For this purpose, no, I cannot.
Your tweet about this bill was flagged by the app itself under their community notes, and their fact check said sensationalist claims about furries literally behaving as animals and receiving accommodations such as litter boxes have been repeatedly debunked as hoaxes. Is that correct?
It was flagged on,
of course,
community notes.
Okay. I find it concerning that these types of debunked conspiracy theories are being used by politicians at the highest levels of our government, including in this legislature.
Always.
Incorrect. Are you aware that Governor Abbott said, quote, kids go to school dressed up as cats with litter boxes in their classrooms?
Sure.
Are you also aware that when the governor was asked by the Dallas Morning News to name a single school where this happened, he couldn't? And PolitiFact called this a pants on fire false claim started by online rumors.
Okay.
Do you think it's a good use of our time to write laws based on debunked internet conspiracy theories?
Well, this isn't, this piece of legislation before us covers that, among other things that are true.
My concern is that instead of holding a hearing about student mental health,
it's fine. They'll handle it.
Instead of holding a hearing about school closures across Texas, we are spending precious legislative time toward the end of this legislative session on a bill called the Furries Act.
What?
And honestly, Representative Gertis, this whole thing is just weird and honestly a little creepy. And I think that's the point, because this is all, in my opinion.
Yes, the Furries Act would ban Texas students from using litter boxes in school. Let's see. How many pages is it? All right, here we go. Section 1. This bill may be referred to as forbidding unlawful representation of role-playing in education, or the Furries Act. They always try to give it a good acronym. It is amended subsection A and B to read the following. The Board of Trustees in an independent school district shall, with the advice of its district-level committee, establish under subchapter F, Chapter 11, adopt a student code of conduct for the district. The student code of conduct must be posted, prominently displayed at each school campus, and made available for review of the office campus principal, in addition to establishing standards for student conduct. Specify the circumstances in accordance with the subchapter under which the student may be removed from a classroom, campus, disciplinary, alternative education program, or vehicle owned or operated by the district. Specify conditions that authorize or require a principal or other appropriate administrator to transfer a student to disciplinary alternative programs. Outline conditions under which the student may be suspended as provided by Section 37.005 or expelled as provisioned by 37.007. Specify that consideration will be given as a factor in each decision concerning suspension, removal to disciplinary alternative education program, expulsion, or replacement in a juvenile justice alternative education program, regardless of whether the decision concerns a mandatory or discretionary action to self-defense, intent, or a lack of interest at the time the student engaged in the conduct, student's disciplinary history, a disability that substantially impairs the student's capacity, a student's status in the conservatorship of the Department of Family Protective Services, student's status as a student who is homeless, provide guidelines for setting the length of the term. A removal under Section 37.006 and expulsion under 37.007. Code of conduct committed by the student results in removal, disciplinary, prohibits bullying, harassment, and making hit lists, and ensures that the district employees enforce the prohibition. Provide, as appropriate for students at each grade level, methods including options for managing students in the classroom, on school grounds, and in a vehicle, disciplining students, preventing and intervening in student disciplinary problems, including bullying, harassment, and making hit lists. Include an explanation of the provisions regarding the refusal of entry to ejection or expulsion. Prohibit any non-human behavior by students, including presenting himself or herself on days other than exempt days as anything other than a human being. That's the part they added. The 10. They added and 10. So there was 9 rules here. And 10. Prohibit any non-human behavior by a student, including presenting himself or herself on days other than exempt days as anything other than a human being. So if your kids at school playing robot, they're fucked, dude. They're gonna immediately jerk their pants down and scream, "You have a penis. You're not a robot. I see your belly button and your penis. Get back in class. You're expelled." Exempt days. What are exempt days? Halloween, or any singular school day within 1 calendar week of Halloween as designated by the school district. School dress-up or activity days on which students are encouraged to wear costumes or garments that are otherwise different from the district or school's normally accepted dress code. There are not more than 5 such days in a school year. You can have no more than 5. The theme is based on an era in human history, a specific holiday or specific school event. The theme of the day is not solely or primarily related to history or celebration of a biological or artificial species other than Homo sapiens. A day that the student must rehearse, perform, or attend an event that would otherwise require that student to dress in costume if the student is a school mascot. Gotta look out for mascots. Or is involved in the district-funded or sponsored theater organization. Non-human behavior means any type of behavior or accessory displayed by a student in a school district other than behaviors or accessories typically displayed by a member of the Homo sapiens species include A, using a litter box for the passing of stool, urine, or other human byproducts. That's a big one. B, a personal or outward display, except during a school play or by school mascot, through surgical or superficial means of features that are non-human, such as tails, leashes, collars, and other accessories designed for pets, fur, other than naturally occurring. You got some hairy kids, dude. You got some hairy kids, that's for sure. Or a wig to look like human hair. Artificial animal-like ears, other physiological features that have not historically been assigned to the Homo sapiens species through a means of natural biological development by God. Barking, meowing, hissing, or other animal noises that are not human speech, not allowed. Licking oneself or others for the purpose of grooming or maintenance. Sexual arousal is allowed. Like if you're just trying to make me hard, lick away. If you're maintaining my luscious coat, you're out of here, mister. Human beings means a biological entity that belongs to the species Homo sapien. Limiting a student to engaging only in human behaviors is not a violation of this section. Prohibition on certain non-human activities and behaviors, exempt day, and human beings have the definitions provided. A student has an obligation to learn, grow, and advance as a human child. A student may not, during school hours, a planned district activity, or on school property, engage in any non-human behaviors as defined by Chapter 37.0016 Education Code, or present himself or herself on days other than exempt days as anything other than a human being. Want to be a space cowboy? You're not doing it. C, a student or group of students may not create an organization under subsection or subchapter E, Chapter 25, Education Code for the purpose of circumventing the regulations in this chapter unless the organization is a federally recognized. So you can't open up a furries club, I guess. Is this an appropriate time to remember the raccoon? That was a good shot. I don't care who you are. They also added to this. So this is the original part. It says mental or emotional injury to a child that results in observable and material impairment in the child's growth, development, or sociological or psychological functioning. They added, including in an education setting, allowing or encouraging the child to develop a dependence on a belief that non-human behaviors are societally acceptable. I'm just reading the parts they added now. Belief that the school or district is committing this felony violation if the Attorney General determines that a school district or employee district named in complaint receiving is violating this chapter, or the attorney. So this is the punishment for that, or for anybody supporting that. Attorney General may levy a fine against the district to not exceed $10,000 for first violation, $25 for any subsequent violations. Yeah, basically. She did. Now fucking stop. She did tell everybody. She did tell him to stop. Leave the fucking mods alone. Stop fucking talking to each other.
A manufactured, debunked smear campaign against our Texas public schools. Governor Abbott has used this litter box rumor to paint our schools in the worst possible light. He even used the litter box conspiracy theory to push his private school voucher bill. These culture war attacks are nothing more than an effort to discredit our public schools to justify defunding those public schools. Texas librarians are not grooming kids, Texas teachers are not indoctrinating kids, and Texas schools are not providing litter boxes. And I think the most disappointing part about all this is that I think you know that.
Much different than Mariah's Corner. I want to know more about this. Texas Furries Acts. I want to see who's cheering this on.
The state of Texas is trying to pass a new law stating that you cannot act like a dog,
No barking, tweeting, or meowing.
or a cat, or any sort of animal while you're at school in the state of Texas. You are not going to be allowed to bark, meow, tweet, grunt, or roar at school in Texas. So in case you've never heard of the Furries Act, this is part of a conspiracy theory. And actually, I've had somebody here in Los Angeles ask me if my child's school...
My kid, Ollie still wants to play, like, he's like, pretend I'm a cat or pretend I'm a dog. And like pet him and he'll make the dog like noises and shit for a minute. Like he doesn't play for like a long time, but for like a couple minutes. He also wants me to squish him all the time. Like these are fucking kids, dude.
School has a litter box.
Nobody's turning these kids into fucking furries. Y'all are out of your goddamn mind.
Back of the classroom. This law requires that students do not act like anything other than a human in the classroom. Students are not allowed to wear any sort of animal accessories like dog collars, leashes, cones around their head because they got their ears clipped, or any other sort of dog, cat, or animal accessories. I'm sure you guys can come up with more accessories.
The little headbands with like cat ears were like really popular a little while back, like anime ears or whatever.
You are an educator in the state of Texas and you do not enforce this law, your fine will be $10,000. I would like to know, how are they going to prosecute this if this bill passes? If you go to court, are you allowed to bark and meow there? I wonder if I could wear my dog collar and leash to court if I don't bark. Would that be allowed? The Furries Act stands for Forbidden, Unlawful Representation of Role-Playing in Education. Woo, that's a mouthful. So
James Talarco just totally destroyed his fellow legislator who was trying to use...
Oh, I think that's what we just watched.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed that students are using litter boxes?
Well, what we do with this bill is we prevent that from...
It should just be shit that's not happening. Let's waste time and write laws about shit that's not happening.
Can you name a school where it has been confirmed?
Oh no, is he a mole? What the fuck is he? Oh, a cat.
Well, what we do with this bill is...
Can you name a school where it has...
I was hoping somebody'd be defending it. Thank God Texas is standing up against the furries. I guess we're not going to find that today, huh? You guys want to see what Scott Rogers been up to? It's been a while. He got a new haircut. It was business in the front, checkerboard in the back, because he missed half of it. Oh, God. Oh, God. Scott got his finger checked out after watching my video. I literally may have saved his life.
What's going on, you guys?
Look at that finger, bro.
Yesterday, I went to the hospital, got my finger checked out.
Thank God. It's black, dude. That's his poop finger.
That don't know. While they were numbing my finger, I passed out, and my number one,
Dude, Scott is so dirty. I can think of at least 5 videos where he had to come on here and say that he went to the hospital to get lanced. Like, how often do people get shit lanced open on their body?
Number one, number two on myself. I'm still trying to wake up. When number two, you sent me home in scrubs.
Wait. Did he just say he shit on himself?
Passed out, and my number one, not number one, number two on myself. I'm still trying to wake up. When number two, you sent me home in scrubs.
He shit himself and they gave him a set of scrubs. I wish they'd gave him one of those gowns that don't quite close in the back.
But, yeah, I think they're kind of missing. I don't know how I passed out. I was sweating. My heart rate and my blood pressure went down a little bit. I'm okay now. I don't know how long I have to wear this for.
Somebody in the chat pointed out that some nurse had to document all of this, and it's now part of a legal document.
Anyways.
Imagine you're on hour 11 of your 12-hour ER shift, and then watch Scott with his finger needs to be checked out because he made a TikTok, and someone said it.
Talk to you later.
His mustache is confusing everybody. That was the fan page. Oh my God, dude. So he just came on here and said his finger had to be lanced and he shit all over himself. They sent him home in scrubs. Why do people put this out there? I don't believe you're a full-grown adult unless you shit on yourself at least once in your adult. Because when someone says, I've never shit on myself, I say yet. Okay? That shit just happens. But I don't make a video to announce it. I went to the doctor, passed out, shit all over myself, and they put me in scrubs.
On TikTok, not too long ago, we got back from Walmart. I've been seeing these on TikTok. They had them. And I just want to try them out. See if the reaction people have to them is the actual reaction. Or the
His mustache is confusing his nose. That's why he's got one nose hole bigger than the other. He's half a human. I don't know if you guys have ever watched my coverage of Scott. You know how a ball sack kind of looks like it's got like a seam down the middle? That's Scott's whole body. Okay? He has 2 different ears, 2 different eyes, 2 different nose holes. His mouth's different on different sides. He's got different teeth. He is some type of experiment. Like one tit's up here, one tit's down here, one shoulder's up here, one shoulder's down here. It's some type of weird fucking experiment where they stitched 2 cadavers together or something.
Just doing it just for content. Doing too, so.
Mariah, I had to shit so bad, dude. One time coming home from work, my stomach is tore up or something. I had to shit so fucking bad that I was like almost to the house, but like clenching. And then you get like this reprieve where it doesn't feel like you got to shit and you let off of it. But that's just a trick, right? You're going to have to clench again. I like pulled up, set the e-brake, jumped out of the fucking car, and went to the door our house had 2 entrances, but there was a door we always used and a door we never fucking used, okay? And went and unlocked the door. Nobody was home. And we had to install a barrel latch at the top of the door because Liam, when he was young, learned how to unlock the door and walked out on the porch one time. And I'm like, I'm going to fix that. Somehow she had locked that and went out the front door, which we never fucking did. So I was like already like clenched up, like hurting. I would have to walk a little bit, then clench. Then walk a little bit, then clench. Like I was going to shit all over myself. Got all the way around to the other fucking door. Got the key in the door, unlocked the door, opened the door, and made it. It was a split foyer. Made it to the first landing and shit all over myself. That was it. That was it. I made it to the landing and shit. I could see the bathroom. Like I could see the bathroom door open and shit all over myself. I think Scott is mostly MRSA. It's like 93% of his body.
I can't handle it, which I can. See ya.
See ya.
The fact that non-diabetics don't know how type 1 diabetes works is so crazy to me because...
Yeah, she's telling the truth. I don't have diabetes, but my dad does. I don't know how old I was when he was first diagnosed. He was diagnosed after he adopted me. I don't know how long ago. But yeah, I know.
Scott believes that one of his he has 2 superpowers. I don't know if you guys know this. Scott has 2 superpowers. One of them is he can tell if a female's in a relationship. The other one is no matter where he's at in the world, he can sense his dad's blood sugar.
Oh, about insulin and stuff. When it gets too high, you have to take insulin. And yeah, type 1 diabetics do need to watch what they eat. I'm watching what I eat. Even though I'm not a diabetic, I still watch what I eat. Every once in a while, I'll treat myself.
When you see his physique, you'll be like, yeah, he watches what he eats.
The fact that non...
Wait till we get a full body shot.
John Walker, 99.95. Thanks for getting one of my gold gifts. Alright, let's try. My name.
I hate watching him play games. They're made for children. We get it.
What's going on TikTok? I want to talk to you about type 1 diabetes.
Oh my God. Another one?
We don't know about. Or if you just became a diabetic. I mean, it's kind of hard to regulate your blood sugar, you know, because my dad's a type 1 diabetic, and it's hard for him to regulate. You don't want to have your blood sugar too high or too low. If it's too high, if your meter says HI, I don't know, because that's sometimes with my dad, and I don't know, but if gets too high or too low, and this is a real thing, it's called a diabetic coma, and you can also have diabetic seizure too. And there are some signs, and the signs are different. The signs are different for everybody, and with age they change too. Like my dad used to repeat himself when his sugar's low, and if it goes below 40, that's when you need to call 911.
Surely Scott gets like rounded up in RFK's study, right?
It's just, even if it's like way too low, you can still go into diabetic coma. Like when me and my dad was living in a house, paramedics had to hold him down because he was having a diabetic seizure. I don't like talking about it. But anyways, that's my thought about diabetes.
I don't know why one side goes down and one side goes up. He's two different people, dude. Look at his nose holes and tell me that both those nose holes, this one's got a booger in it, but both those nose holes are the same person. So he's got one evil mustache and one regular mustache. I don't know.
You don't know. There's two. Okay.
Hey, does this smell like chloroform?
No, it actually smells like strawberries.
Strawberries? What the fuck? You fucking liar.
What in the ton?
Straight up.
Did a Megazord or a monster with the Rangers fighting through that card and it landed like that? How? Okay. I bet a monster do that and the Power Rangers and the Megazord was trying to get out, but the monster gotten it stuck. Jeez Louise, mate. Cracky, mate.
I watched a transgender person lose their shit over absolutely nothing.
That man here that was talking in the video, that duet, dude, I hope you get this. I'm gonna use that for the people who tries to get me mad and crap like that. I want to use that.
Look how high this shoulder is compared to this shoulder. This one starts at his ear.
Thanks. Because
two different sized tits, nipples in different locations. He's two humans.
I do get mad. I get it. Big Bang Theory, when Sheldon knocks on Penny's door. Penny. 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 I'll do one. 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 That's how you do it. All right.
Let me show you Scott's. I think I got it. Don't I? I'll show you. Here's his body. Here's a quick overview of his body. One time when he dropped his phone when he was on a live stream. There you go. One time he dropped his phone when he was on a live stream and he went to pick it up. So he's fit, right? He's quite the specimen. This is the first thing you see when the chloroform wears off. And then you think, he's just built like a brick shit house, right? That's not true. He's talented as well. Let me get it to play. I hate how long VLC takes to open, but it'll be there eventually. You're really ruining the bit here, VLC. Come on. Jesus Christ. Is it broken? Please don't make me play it with Windows Media Player or whatever the fuck that is. Oh, there he goes.
What's up? This video goes to Reba McEntire. I want to do the male version to the challenge for your fancy song. I'm looking at the lyrics to.
Damn it. He's going to sing Fancy for us. If I can get it to pop up and fucking play. It opened an extra window. I tried to close the extra window and it closed them both.
What's up? This video goes to Reba McEntire. I want to do the male version to the challenge for your fancy song. I'm looking at the lyrics to the song.
He's going to sing. You guys know.
And have heard it.
And Fancy was my name. Give me one. Here's your one shot. Fancy, don't let me down. You know what I'm saying? Fancy. Reba McEntire.
With awards. But I think I can.
By the way, Scott has to have no pants on to really hit this note. He can't be constrained. You know what I mean?
Sound country singing. I'm not good at singing, but I never tried doing country music song. But Reba McEntire, I hope you like this. And
Reba McEntire, I hope you like this.
There's gonna be no music.
Acapella.
Here we go. Well, I remember it all very well. Looking back, it was in the summer. I turned 18, we lived in one room. Down the street on the outskirts of New Orleans. Woo! We didn't have money for food or rent, to say at least. We were hard pressed. Then Mama spent every last penny we had to buy me a dancing dress. Mama washed and combined and curled my hair.
Mama washed and kaboomed. That word's combed. Comb has a B in it. Combed. Mama wash and kaboom.
Mama washed and combined and curled my hair. Sorry, I'm getting a little winded. And she painted my eyes and lips. Then I stepped into singing dress and dancing dress. Then I stepped into singing dress and dancing dress and lips. Then I stepped into singing dress.
Do you guys see that? It just falls out, dude.
Mama washed and combined and curled my hair. Sorry, I'm getting a little winded. And she painted my eyes and lips. Then I stepped into singing, dressing, dancing dress. I'll just, please, Fancy, don't let me down. Please don't let me down, Fancy, oh, please. Oh, that's one add-on. I hope you like that, and everyone see how I did too.
He got out of breath from kinda singing one verse of a song.
Man, see, that's why I never tried it. Well, you never know that you could do it unless if you try it, right? Singing like that. But anyway, Miss Reba McIntyre, I want to try and tag you in this. You have a very blessed day, Miss McIntyre.
That's a good one. I mean, he did a good job.
How's it going, TikTok? Yeah, need to know something about White Knight Chicken? He's a pillhead. Takes pills. He abuses pills, you know? Yeah. He doesn't stop. So, peace out.
What an announcement!
TikTok. Yeah, need to know something about White Knight Chicken? He's a pillhead. Takes pills. He abuses pills, you know? Yeah.
What an announcement!
Doesn't stop. So, peace out. How's it going, TikTok? Yeah. No swipe, all right.
Oh no. Oh no. There's something in his crazy mustache. And it falls off. Is that levitating?
No swipe, all right. Pass. Catch. Boots. I've seen the show, so I know.
No one's forcing him to post any of these. Like he could do 1,000,000 takes until he got the right one. But somehow, here we are.
There we go. Hello. It's morphin' time. White tiger.
It went in the fetal position.
Oh, yeah.
I like when he harasses fast food workers. That's my favorite.
Me gag.
Bet.
Oh, man. Oh, shit. He fell for a hook, line, and sinker. He made her make herself gag. That's pretty funny. Oh, jeez. That's hilarious. Hit the name I'm saying.
He needs some overlays, doesn't he?
It's funny. Alright.
I got a question for you. What was my famous phrase from Family Matters?
Oh, yeah, Family Matters.
Did I do that?
To your question is, did I do that? Yeah, that's pretty funny. Did I do that?
I got a question for you. What was my...
What's up, Lens?
You people can't stand you, fakers, total fakers.
What's up, you guys? This video I'm stitching, I did at the end. I'm sorry, my back is itching. I don't know why. But why did it at the end? People who are like that guy who was talking to her. He doesn't know her story. You shouldn't judge somebody by the looks, you know? Having pot syndrome is a real thing. And yeah, I have not witnessed it personally. I did some research.
He diagnosed himself with pot syndrome, by the way.
And yeah, you watched the video from start to where I ended.
It's literally like where you stand up and your heart rate increases and dizziness, faint, fatigue, lightheadedness, shit like that.
Yeah. She said in the middle, like, if they walk for a long time, they faint. Yeah. I mean, some people think they're faking a disability or something. Oof. I mean, I just don't know why people are like that. You know?
Somebody in the comments said a good shower will stop that itch, Scotty.
I mean, come on.
Postural, orthostatic, tachycardia.
Scoliosis. That's before 2000.
Tachycardia syndrome, POTS, POTS.
I had a little 90 Yamaha dirt bike. I broke my leg. The doctor.
It wasn't a dirt bike, it was a moped, and he got it for his birthday and took it out on the road, and he thought it was like a video game and he could drive over cars.
When they were fixing my leg, they're not butt to bone. They overlapped. Let me tell you about overlapping leg bones on the low leg, because that's where I broke my leg, is the low leg. If you overlap the bone on the lower leg, it can make, I don't know how many years it'll take for the knee to shift. So I'm just, I don't know how long it'll take the knee to shift, you know. But my knee, my left knee, I broke my left leg. My knee shifted. So I can't stand for a very long time. Maybe an hour or 2 hours or 2 hours and a half hours. Yeah, I can stand that. But past that point, my knee starts hurting. And that's when I need to sit down and rest my knee. And my employer, I used to work up.
Yeah, he's what, chat? He's like less than 5 feet. He's something crazy.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
5'3".
And I quit that job because I was the dishwasher. Standing up all the time. When I can remember, I had no breaks. I might have had a few breaks, but not enough. So I quit.
I had no breaks. I mean, I had a few breaks, but not enough. Somebody also hired him to work to the local gas station told him he could just come in 1 day a week and help count inventory, and they pay him $15 an hour. He refused. He said he's a famous TikToker. Somebody used to pay him down at his local flea market. This guy and girl that had like a book selling thing. I've dug into all this lore. They sell and trade books at the local flea market. They have like a permanent stand. They had him come in once a week and told him they'd pay him for like helping organize the books. But when the guy would leave, he would pull his dick out and try to show it to the guy's wife. And then tried to Snapchat her dirty pictures all the time. So they finally had to ask him to stop. Oh God, Scott's dog walking. He started a dog walking business. He does pets too. Does that video not exist anymore? Please tell me it does. I used to just find it all the time by just searching Scott Rogers. Maybe that's what I need to do. That is a wild video. This is a crazy video.
I'm too sexy for my shit.
I wish I had the original audio where he's singing though. I get copyright strikes for those. Oh my God, have you guys seen his bed? Watch this video.
How's it going?
But don't pay attention to anything he's talking about. Okay? Look at the color of the mattress from start to finish. Look at the color of the mattress from start to finish. This is his mattress he lives on.
How's it going, everyone? I'm making this video to show you the stages of how I put on my White Ranger suit. First I go the white suit, then the belt, then the chest piece, the bicep piece, the gloves. Well, I put on the gloves after these.
You remember this mattress used to be white, right? Like it started white down at the bottom where you can't touch because he's too short.
And so those can go over this. And then lastly, the helmet. And if I need to go somewhere,
he's got an ombre mattress. God, I wish I could find that dog walking video. It might have got deleted or account got banned or something that hosted it. God, that was a good video. Gangs out, fangs out.
Into the kidnappers.
We're back! Simple!
Oh, gangs out, fangs out. It didn't come up when I searched actually dog walking. I don't remember what they had it like titled as. But man, that is a wild video. It's usually on the Scott Rogers fan page account. Let me go back there. Is that this account? I think I follow the Scott Rogers fan page. Is this it? For real? The dog walking video is wild, dude. It was dog walking and babysitting, I think. I'd let him babysit my kid. Country Corey.
Alright, guys.
Amazing. That video's so good. I can't believe it might be lost to time. I need that video. Should have downloaded it, huh? Instead of being a fucking loser. His new boots. Oh, there's so many things. Scott Rogers. It should be under videos. It should be one of the top fucking videos, dude. Everybody used to play that video. Now there's so many AI Scott Rogers, it's hard to tell which ones are real. When he was yelling at those black people for being so racist to him, you guys remember that? And he's like, they called me a leprechaun. If you come to Atlanta, don't go to that corner because they called me a leprechaun. There's videos with dogs, but it's not dog walking. I feel like I would recognize that as soon as I saw the thumbnail.
Hello, everyone, all TikTokers. I need some advice. I'm thinking of going in the adult industry, do porn and all, but... Hello, everyone, all TikTokers. I need some advice. I'm thinking about going in the adult industry, do porn and all, but...
The green video?
It's the right choice. Give me some advice, please.
You got it. He's thinking about going into the porn industry.
Y'all don't know. The belt is ours, Scotty.
Nope, the belt ain't y'all's. Nope.
The Kermit crew's sitting on it right now.
Okay, just listen. If I was a bad actor, William Byrd, host of the Cold Break Confessional, was a bad actor, I would say, I'm not a bad actor, but if I were a bad actor, the things that I would say would be go to Reddit and type in Scott Rogers, and maybe, potentially, I don't know, because I'm not a bad actor, potentially, there is a full guy-on-guy video that he recorded in a hotel room with a dude, where he starts out dressed as the Green Ranger and ends up a very satisfied boy. Now, if that video existed, there would be an entire section where Scott has this nice young Latino boy, and he is giving him a full handy from base to tip. Okay, a full-on twist action, everything. Scott is doing that to the Latino gentleman, if it existed. And then, when Scott is like, when people are like, Scott, you posted the video, we know you've been with a man. He claims he thought it was a girl, they tricked him. Like the first part of the video is him giving out handies. I don't know.
No, you better take off my belt. Stop sitting on my belt, goddammit.
Belt now.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. I got the goddamn belt.
No, you don't.
See, I got the daggum belt.
No, I'm sitting on it. We're the champs.
No, you're thief. You
Every fucking second of it.
thief.
No, 6-0. Boom.
No.
Let me give a shout out to the MVP.
Thief. Fuck you, mommy. We're on the bench. I'm blocking you. Fuck you, goddamn bitch.
We're the champs.
No, we still the champs. Fuck you, bitch. Y'all don't know.
That's going good.
Scotty.
It seems like he's made up with Kermit, huh? Seems like he's made up a little bit with Kermit.
Everything okay, Corey?
Country Corey was his only friend. He treated him like shit, dude.
Everything okay?
Everything's fine, Scott. What you doing?
Nothing, Bella.
Country Corey's a guy that knew Scott's family, and he would come pick him up, take him to the store, and make sure he had money for food and shit. And Scott just treated him like shit. Scott got mad when he got more views. Scott got mad when he got more gifts. Scott got mad when people would ask where Country Corey was, and he treated him like shit.
Yeah.
If you happen to email me at coldbeerconfess@gmail.com, I may or may not have a copy of that video I could send right to your inbox. You would have to go look for it.
This is Country Corey sitting in the lazy boy, tired as I could be. I came home from making my rounds, and Dr. Scott was in my driveway. So we're going to probably go to the racetrack here about 6 o'clock. Once the sun goes down, it is hot as 3 suns out there. But what do you think, Scott? You got anything you want to tell him?
Just be polite to each other and be kind and nice.
This guy really was nice to him.
Scott, I'll talk to you.
Oh, you do. It's like morbid curiosity. Like, I don't want to be a mortician, but I've seen an autopsy before. Like, you know what I mean? There's something there. There's something I got to be part of, okay? I felt left out. I really wish I could find the dog walking video. That's a good one. Oh, well. I have to find it later and download it. All right, guys, I got to go. Mariah's been getting mad when I get home at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I told her that you guys don't care. You just want me here all night. And then she's like, you know how them women be tripping. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Support the show if you can afford to, if that's something you can do. If you can't, I understand. Just like it, share it, send it. I don't know. Shit on it. Fuck it. Give it a hand job. Support the show at coldbeer.fund. That's how we keep the thing going. Thank you guys for joining us. It's the first of the month, so your rent's due. Mine is too. Just thought I'd remind you. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye.
But I can tell you this, about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
I keep thinking I'm going to wake up to a different timeline, but every day it's the same shit. Liam comes home from his trip tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Mariah said.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus.
Why would rent be due at the end of the month?
All these false fucking prophets who profit off of God.
That's silly. Silly Japanese shit. Chinese, I can't remember. It's confusing.
He's strapped to the shaft, beating his chest like he's King Kong, starving for attention.
Can I come live in Japan?
I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex.
What is the outgoing song? This song? A buddy of mine wrote it for me when like Grift Buster things were going on. His name's Jay Reese. It's a good song. It's got me in it laughing. Scott Rogers impressions. It's pretty good. It's called Ain't Seen Nothing Yet.
Buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. My mom's an alcoholic. Give me oh my God.
I didn't know that gypsy was a slur. I've been telling that story about my family pissing off some gypsies like years ago in the old country, and that's why we're cursed for a long time. I had no idea that you weren't supposed to say that. Learn something new every day.
You ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing so well. It's all over. Hands on his shoulders. They ringing.
Apparently, it is to like I guess Greek people.
No damn research.
Like they don't care for it, but I had no idea because there's like bands and there's like brands and stores and stuff that are named like Gypsy. Oh yeah, no, I was wrong. Romani. I said Jewish, didn't I? That's probably not true. Also known as Roma, the Romani people. The British government used the term Roma as a subgroup of white in its ethnic classification, the Romani people.
You don't have those guts because
There you go.
You're a pussy wearing aviators
Now we know.
in your mother's basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle because that's really.
Have a good night, guys.